Sorry, I'm still sick. I think I'm at like the right end of it, like the very, 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 very end of it, which is great. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this freaking cold to go. Good morning, everyone. It looks like we've got, I see Warren in Rockfin. Good morning, Warren. Thank you for hooking up the Rockfin area. That's so cool. Be sure to check us out over on Rockfin. I think, yeah, Warren has it in the comment section right now. So good morning, Warren, to you in YouTube as well. Mr. H. Miguel, good to see you. Nice to see you. Good to see everybody, actually. So yeah, it's FriYAY. So lots of fun today. Getting through, gonna do some different ones. First, we're gonna bring on today, we've got Sherry today, Dr. Wise. We're gonna bring her on to talk about billionaire tax evasion. Then later on, we're going to talk about Ethan Klein from the H3H3 podcast. Looks like he got a strike on his channel yesterday. So we're going to be watching that and going through all of that. And then maybe talk about some interesting conservative news. Apparently, Newsmax has banned Laura Logan. She went like crazy full QAnon. So we'll go look at all of that crazy stuff that they're talking about, like the bread of the blood of children. It was wild. Then we're going to talk about the end of the Saudi Arabian romance between us and Saudi Arabia and see what's going to be possibly could be happening. It is through Daily Mail, so we'll, kind of take it as is and take it for a grain of salt. But and then for the fun part at the end, Les Bones sent me a really cool creepy pasta. I thought we could talk about it because it kind of delves into a little bit of my life as well, with my family. And then I found a video of the top 10 creepiest things caught on dash cam. So that's going to be really, really fun. I'm going to bring Sherry in at the beginning because she's already in here and I hate seeing her in the background right now, just sitting in the backstage. So I'm going to bring her on right now and we are just going to hang out for the first maybe 5-10 minutes and talk and see, and then we'll get started. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good to see you, Sherry.
How are you, Jimmy? I'm so sorry about your cold. I had this horrible cold in August, and it was after I came back from California, so it might be the same one floating around.
I think I've got allergies because it's like I don't have the flu feeling. So there's no temperature. My body doesn't feel weak or anything. It's just straight right here. And I've never had allergies before, but it hit right as soon as I guess Mexico, the coastline got hit with a hurricane this last weekend. And so we just got that tail end of it. But it was really quick and really fast. Like it was a sunny day, and then all of a sudden it was windy, and then we got thunder and lightning, and then this hard rain and this super wind, and then it just went away. And after that, my nose was like, you ain't having it. Something got up there and I'm not happy.
Oh, no.
So I'm thinking I might have like new allergies. It's got to be comes with age, right? Because you can gain allergies at any age.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just like a 37-year-old who's finally hitting allergies.
Well, if it lasts for too long, check out a doctor because it could be a sinus infection.
Okay.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Yeah. So then, because then you'd need antibiotics to get rid of it. They're a pain.
Oh, no. Oh, well, if I end up having an infection, I usually don't tell anyone. But I
actually can catch those anyway.
Yeah, I found a trick when I was it's like a poor person's trick. We found out that if you want to take antibiotics, I guess fish antibiotics is just as good as human antibiotics. So that's what I've been taking anytime I get sick and I need some kind of like antibiotics. I just go to the fish store and grab that. So yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Some people had told me about it like years and years ago, and then I Googled it, and there's like whole forums about it where people are like, yeah, if you can't afford doctor antibiotics, I guess the fish stuff is just the same. And I've been taking it for 15 years and I'm still not a fish yet. I don't think. I might be growing gills back there. I have no idea.
Well, we can't see your feet, Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly. They might be webbed. You never know. You never know. So cool stuff happened with me. Well, just one really cool thing happened with me. I found out this morning that my grandson lost his first tooth. Yay! So he gets to get visited from the tooth fairy tonight. So I'm excited. I got a hold of my husband this morning. I'm like, can we send him over some money and be like, the tooth fairy got confused and came over to our house by accident. So here's some money from her. So we're going to send him some money tonight and then give him the little message. And I can't wait to talk. I want to give him a call later on today and do some FaceTime, and so I can see his tooth. It's like his little bottom one down here, and it's so cute. I'm so excited. Like I miss that with my own kids because, my kids are all teenagers and ready to grow up and stuff. Like I don't want any more kids. I fucking hate children. But man, it's so cool to see like your grandbaby. So like it's not yours, but it is yours at the same time, and you're like, I get to do all this baby stuff again, but I don't have to deal with all the shit.
I'm looking forward to those days. I have a couple of possibilities coming forward, but it's going to be a while. So, but I remember when I first saw the kids, like an X-ray of the kids' teeth when they were like babies, and I couldn't believe because there were adult teeth in there way back, and they were already like forming, and it just it's just unbelievable watching babies grow up. You know, babies turn into kids and then turn into adults. And
I know, it's so fun. I just saw this weekend, or this week sometime, Misty Winston. She is a streamer as well. She had her kid's birthday was this week, and she did this really cool idea, and I think I'm gonna steal it from her so I can do it with my kid. Where she got like streamers, and so the door closes in her kid's room to where her kid has to open the door towards her, and so she put streamers against each door side all the way across, and then blew up a bunch of balloons and put them on the inside of the streamer, so that way when the girl opens the doors, all the balloons come in her face. I was like, what a genius thing to do. I would have never thought
that's
that.
great.
So yeah, so I've been sitting here all week, like, because my kid doesn't have a door to her room. Like, she's below my living room. So to get to her room, there's a hole in the corner of my living room, and there's a ladder that goes straight down. And I'm like, how do I get balloons to just fall on her face when she comes up a ladder? Like, I'm sitting here just, like, trying to Einstein how to do this next year for her birthday, because it is such a genius idea. I absolutely love it. I thought that was so cool to see.
Maybe you need like a little trip wire or something attached to a bell when she comes. But I don't know. Right. Maybe that won't work. But
right, I got to figure out some kind of, you know, trinket, like kind of weird, you know, thing to make it Rube Goldberg machine kind of thing to make it happen. So it'll be a lot of fun. Let's see who else we got. Dolores is in the comments. Can you see the comments on the side?
No, let's see. Let me see. Yes, now I can. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. So those are all going to be the comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch for today. The Rockfin, I'm going to have to like keep checking on because they don't put the Rockfin chat up in there, but there's the comments if you want to say hi to anyone in there. Dolores is with us on Facebook, so hello, Dolores. And Warren wants to know if you are streaming live from heaven.
No, I'm afraid it's just Lorton, Virginia. But this may be my last chance to get out in my backyard for the season. I don't know. We'll see. The weather's crazy, but absolutely. So I just thought I'd just enjoy this beautiful day, and maybe we'll get a visit from a dog or two at some point in time. So we will see.
Good. That's why I don't stream outside during the morning shows anymore, because like you, I live out in the middle of nowhere, but everybody has animals. So like between my two dogs that like to bark at literally anybody that any of my neighbors that is trying to have a life, my dogs will bark. But then like my neighbor has a bunch of chickens, so they make a lot of noise. And then I got a neighbor below me down the mountain a little bit, and I think she has about 12 chihuahuas. So as soon as she like opens that front door, it's like barking mayhem. Yeah. And you can just, they start, and then all the other neighbors are like, what the fuck is going on? So they all start barking. It just turns into a mess out there. So, and then I guess my other neighbor decided that he wanted to buy like the loudest car ever made in human history. I don't know what it is. It sounds like a beat up old, like, monster truck or something. I don't know. Like, when I hear it, I imagine it being like some old 1940s truck that's like lifted with huge tires, but it's rusted out everywhere, because it's
including the muffler.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so big and loud. I'm like, what kind of car is that? I have no idea, but it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. It's louder than motorcycles, and I know it's not a motorcycle because it sounds bigger. But man, yeah, that's what I love. The mountain, I love the forest, I love the nature, but man, it still feels like the city. There's like no difference with sound.
Yeah, I can hear lawnmowers. I do actually have a neighbor with chickens, but I usually don't hear them. Mainly what I hear is Susie, our pit bull, barking at the fence when she hears them out there.
Yep. Or we got like this other kid over here. He makes money selling firewood. So like pretty much once or twice a week, we'll hear him out there for a few hours, you know, with his chainsaw chopping up firewood, because that's his job. So yeah, there's always, you know, little noises here and there all over the place. Plus it's a mountain, so it echoes a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, a person like 10 streets over can be like, you know, shutting the lid of their trash can, and we'll be hearing it echoing over here. So I swear there was like a first year or two I lived here, I had to get used to this guy shutting his trash can lid because it's so loud. I thought it was a gunshot every day. I'm like, dude, somebody is killing someone every day. And I just found out that it was like a guy with his trash can. I'm like, okay, no gunshots. All right, I need to get my mind out of the city. Like you could take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl. So funny.
Well, I'm just glad that we don't really hear much of the traffic because Interstate 95 isn't very far away, but somehow we don't really hear it very much. I guess there's just another, I guess there's just a lot of other noises. Or maybe I'm just too busy talking all the time.
Do you have like a hill that's covering it so that way you can't see? Because if you can't see it, then you probably won't be able to hear it.
There's not really a hill, but there are a lot of trees around. And so, and I think it's probably just far enough, and it may very well be wind blowing, you know, could be all kinds of things. So,
oh, yeah, you could be like, you know, not the way that the wind blows. So it goes an opposite way. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Good morning, Ghost Star. Good vibes. The drones here were literally mowing in the rain yesterday. What?
Oh my God.
Wait, they have drone lawn mowers? I'm so confused.
I can't interpret it either.
Have you ever heard of drone lawn mowers? That would be interesting. That'd be like the white man's dream. He's like, the wife's like, come on, are you gonna mow the lawn today? And he's like, all right. Gets out of remote control.
My husband would love that.
Exactly.
We have this huge yard that's like really like has these big like humps in it. And so it's really hard to mow. So he would be very happy to have a drone.
For sure. Yeah, no, we're not allowed to mow our lawns out here. We're like national forest. I actually just had who was it? Like the county or the whatever came out just the other day and cleaned off my roof because the pine needles and stuff. We had like a warrant for cleanup for fire safety or whatever. So that's what they do. Like we don't have a lawn or anything to mow. They make sure that things are like not fire hazards. So we've got to like pick up all the pine needles because every year the pine trees drop all their pine needles and the shit gets thick. So like after a couple of years, you know, just like you're walking down a mountain with like this thick of pine needles, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot. Because you got to think like every single little branch that you see coming off is a pine needle and they just empty all of them every year. So
it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it's really, really crazy to live here when you're walking down it too, because my dryer and my washing machine is down there at the bottom of the house. So I have to like actually walk outside of my house to go down there and then back up. And if you look really closely in all the pine needles, because it's wild forest, there's just spiders that are living in it everywhere. They just have made a home on the side of the mountain, all of them. It's so crazy. They're my friends. I don't bug them as long as they don't bug me. But there's a lot. There's a lot of spiders. It's crazy. Okay, my neighbors are America drones. What? Fucking ghost start. All right. So let me get this pulled up so that way we can get started. Do you want to say anything about what you want to talk about before we get it going?
Yeah, let me do a little intro.
You got it.
Discussion. So early in the week, you had a clip, well, actually a segment by Adam. Is it Adam Savage? Is that his last name? I can't remember.
Yeah, that Adam ruins everything.
Right. And my sister used to watch this show a lot, and I never had much of a chance to watch it, but what I did see, I really liked about him, and that was really a great segment. I really liked that segment a lot because, you know, he was talking about what he was talking about was how the wealthy use gifting of art as basically a way of reducing their taxes. And of course, they also get a lot of you know, good PR from that kind of thing. You know, it establishes a lot of goodwill for them. But one thing that kind of bothered me is there were some people that, you know, kind of had the response of, well, these taxes don't really matter that much because we have because with the MMT we know that the federal government doesn't depend on taxes for spending. And that's true. But I think we need to be careful about, about the complexity of the issue, because there's a lot more other effects. For one thing, states, the wealthy are also, they're not going to be reporting their income that they are able to write off from these gifts on state tax returns as well. So state coffers suffer. And then there's things you normally wouldn't think about. One of the things is, and this is interesting because, ghost art and books are used to launder money. One of the things that's interesting is about 10 or 20 years ago, I can't remember when, the New York Times did an expose on this kind of situation, and it talked about the impact of wealthy donations of art. Well, for one thing, there gets to be somewhat of a competition for the really high-end art. And it really, brings up the price of high-end art, much more probably than the real market value of that art is. And so that's, a difficulty. And it may mean that people don't get a chance to enjoy that art because, it may be in storage somewhere or something like that. Or, maybe they hold little openings with other rich clientele at the museum and they get to see those things anyway. But I don't know what all the implications are. But one thing for sure is that it's a place for the wealthy to put money in art that isn't done by, artists living now. And so, it basically, you can think of it as most likely as taking away from support of living artists. If they're not buying up and coming artwork because they're spending $100 million on a Van Gogh, how do we keep our young up and coming artists supported? And so that's one issue. And then, of course, the state revenue gets, state revenue gets diminished, things like that.
Right.
So, and this was kind of interest to me because my husband is an artist. And so it was just it's something I've been, aware of for a while and find interesting. But it turns out that very same day, I found another video. It just popped up on my stream, and it was by Mark Steiner, who works with the Real News. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is also an independent news agency. It's out of Baltimore. And Mark Steiner is one of the main contributors to that organization. And what he did was he had an interview with a couple of people who just wrote a report about how billionaires hide wealth. Now, it's not exactly the same thing, but keep in mind, if billionaires are using wealth to not pay taxes, that enables them also to accumulate more wealth that they may actually need to hide somehow because, they want to not pay taxes. And so this report that was done by the Institute for Policy Studies talks all about these tax havens that are actually being created by the states, and specifically it tends to be poorer, smaller states because they believe that they're going to get some kind of gain from billionaires putting their money in bank accounts in their state, and that's very questionable when you hear about what actually happens to that money. And so it really is, as they explain, it's become a race to the bottom between certain states for basically hiding a lot of wealth and hiding it long term. And so this is a serious problem. Right. So if you want to go ahead and get the video started, Jimmy, that'd be great.
You got it. We will start it from here. Okay.
But what if I told you that you don't have to look that far to find out how governments protect trillions in wealth, how tied together the wealthy and the money managers are to government, and how they're not taxed legally for trillions of dollars right here in the United States? That individual states in our union are protecting that wealth. And that's a huge part of the reason why we have poverty in America, can't pay for infrastructure, healthcare, or education. Well, that's been a reality. It is a reality. And it's been investigated and brought to light by a study called Billionaire Enabler States, how U.S. states captured by the trust industry help the world's wealthy hide their fortunes. It was recently published by the Institute for Policy Studies in Washington, D.C. And the authors of that study join us today. Kalina Tomhave is a freelance journalist and researcher working with a program on inequality and the common good at the Institute for Policy Studies. Her work has appeared in the American Prospect, The Nation, The Progressive, and many more. And Chuck Collins, who has joined us before, he is the author of the book, The Wealth Hoarders, How Billionaires Pay Millions to Hide Trillions. He's also the director of the program on inequality and the common good at the Institute for Policy Studies, where he co-edits inequality.org. And they're joining us today. So welcome, Kalina and Chuck. Great to have you with us. And so let's just start by defining some terms.
Okay. So this is pretty much the intro of the video. Do you want me to start on the timestamps?
I'll tell you, let's go ahead and continue to watch it for a little while. Okay. And then, because maybe we'll just sort of do a more watching.
All right, you got it. You got it. Okay. Good morning, John. Good to see you. Good morning, Yona. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button really quick. It definitely helps out with the algorithms. We are really trying to get up there. We're doing really amazing. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the support. I truly appreciate all of you. Let's get back to this.
Here and why they're so important. And Kalina, you know, when you all write about corporate trust assets and unregulated trusts, what they mean, and why they're in so important conversation, and why we know so little about them.
Sure. So I think we can start out just talking about what a trust is, because a lot of people don't really understand what exactly a trust is. And so a trust is essentially something that a grantor, the trust creator, sets up for the benefit of beneficiaries. So maybe like their son or their grandchildren, and the person who sets that up for them is the trustee. And so in that case, typically like someone in the trust industry, a wealth management person. And so that's essentially what a trust is. And so they were created so that a person could ensure that trust assets or their assets were kept safe until the beneficiary was able to take control of them. The problem is that trusts have been distorted and manipulated since their origin, and used by super wealthy people to avoid taxation, to avoid their creditors, to pass billions of dollars on to their descendants without having to pay any checks to the federal government.
So,
okay.
So your book's not
Jimmy,
telling us
do you
how
mind
we can
stopping
do
it?
So,
I'm sorry, I'm not being very.
No, absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to talk just for a moment about trusts. Trusts are something, it's a legal arrangement that comes out of British common law. So this is something that goes way back. They're actually kind of very unclearly defined in a lot of ways. And so, you know, most Americans think, I'm sorry, is the noise too loud? Because there's somebody mowing the lawn back here.
No, you're good.
Okay. Many people might think about antitrust legislation, which really relates to business. And the reason why we call it antitrust legislation is because early on, when John Rockefeller and these other robber barons that we had in the 1800s, they had so many complicated businesses. They were buying up businesses here and there, and they were vertically integrating and, you know, creating more businesses within businesses. So what happened was their lawyers created what they called a trust, which is basically like a holding company. So they used that term trust at that point in time in a business sense, but a trust is not necessarily a business arrangement. A trust is just a legal entity that is created. It's an artificial legal entity that is created, and it can be set up in many different ways. And typically the purpose is to hide money. Not necessarily always, but it's
right.
as you'll hear, it's a
hide money and avoid taxes. Seems like
right. Yeah. So if you want to go ahead and put the video back on.
Yep.
Just how do they do that, Chuck? I think we don't understand the amount of money we're talking about here, and how individual states are actually controlled at some aspects in this regard by the trust industry itself. We don't understand the depth of this.
Well, first, I just thank you for having this conversation, because the topic of trusts, I think it's important to say right at the beginning, is purposely complex. That the tax lawyers, the people who design these trusts, want you to give up, throw your hands up, and go talk about something else. The complexity is intentional. The complexity is intentional. So, and one of the things that is going on here is they've taken this ownership arrangement that Kalena described, and the trust attorneys and are manipulating and morphing it into something else. And there are certain states in the United States that we call trust havens, or they're sort of like secrecy states, that are particularly trying to attract this business by changing their laws to make it possible for people to hide money for centuries. So that's
now, see, that's really interesting to me, because when you hear tax havens, you think of like Cuba and all these other places outside of the US where these people are holding on to it. But now you're starting to see, South Dakota, Nevada, Alaska, Delaware, Tennessee, Wyoming, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, Texas. These are American states. This isn't even outside of the US now. That's absolutely, sorry. You gotta unmute.
I'm sorry, I was trying to avoid the loud lawnmower. No, you're absolutely right. So what is happening here is, the U.S. has been a system of an area where money has been dumped, for a long time. Early in the 1800s, we had a lot of money that came in from Britain that was investing and stuff in the U.S. But the problem is they hiding it, and that's of course what the trusts do. And he said a couple really important things in this segment. One was they make it intentionally complicated, and the other is the secrecy. And so many people don't know that the vast majority of corporations in the United States are incorporated in the state of Delaware. Why? Because Delaware doesn't require that they do a lot of reporting of like boards of directors and things like that. So there's a lot of management stuff they can hide. And so now boards of directors, that might seem kind of silly, but if you have interlocking directorates, in other words, you have companies that the board members are members of other companies that are related, and maybe even partially owned, that's some stuff you can look into to see what's going on with those companies. But if you can't access that information, you can't report on it.
Right. No, that actually gave me a complete aha moment, because there's been some like volunteer organizations that we volunteered for that was looking into making 501c3s and C4s and wanting to do it in Delaware. Now it makes sense why. Mm-hmm. So it totally makes sense. All right, let's continue. That's mind-boggling.
It's part of why it's important that you've picked up on why this is important. This is one of the tools in the wealth hiding toolbox, probably one of the most important ones that the ultra wealthy are deploying, and their enablers, their financial managers, are using.
Let's talk about what this means. I mean, when both of you were just speaking, I mean, when we're talking about trillions of dollars of money in this country that is not taxed, and there are certain states that become their tax havens, and we all think of this, when we think of this, we think of it as, oh, the wealthy have tax havens and they're in the Cayman Islands somewhere, but they're not in the United States. But no, they're in Wyoming. They're in Delaware. They're right around the corner.
Oops.
They're where we live.
I should have just stayed quiet.
How can that be? How can you make millions and billions and trillions of dollars and hide it so you don't pay taxes?
You were absolutely right on, Jimmy.
How does it even begin to happen?
Yeah, I should have just stayed quiet.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I would have answered it for me.
That's fine, but it's not a good. I mean, it's a good thing to repeat this stuff because it is so unfamiliar. We think Cayman Islands, we think Switzerland, when it's a lot easier for them than that. They can just hire some attorneys in South Dakota to set up a trust. Yep. And their families have money for generations. So,
right. Yep.
Okay.
It just shows that I'm like right on with them. Like I'm paying attention. All right, I'm getting it.
Happen. Colleen, do you want to jump in and start? And Chuck, please jump right in.
Sure. I think it's how a trust is structured. That states have changed their laws to allow sort of like an ownership limbo and secrecy of trust assets. So like if I wanted to put my billions and billions of dollars, which I clearly have, in trust in South Dakota, I would put that in the trust and I wouldn't own it anymore. It wouldn't be mine. And it doesn't belong to the trustee. But if a creditor was coming after me, I could say, I don't have those billions. I just have the $5 in my bank account. Sorry. And that's the law. It's almost like the trust assets belong to the trust.
Right.
If you want to go ahead and pause it.
Chuck?
So what's interesting there is that it sounds like the rich are kind of giving up their money, but they're really not. They're putting it aside. That money is protected. It continues, it gets invested. And as they'll bring up here, it gets invested, we know not where. It could be that money, some of that money goes out to buy property in Japan, or make investments somewhere else. And another thing is, and this is one of the tricks that the wealthy use, is that they might buy property and that's their residence. So for instance, you might buy a brownstone in Manhattan and it might be $5 million or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But then your kid gets a free place to live for the rest of their lives. And so the kid is living in the property of the trust, but the trust is, a family asset. It's just that they have set it up so that ownership is so hazy, and it's created an entity that's not a human entity. It's created a trust, and so the trust actually owns that property.
Right. So they don't have to pay as much of the taxes on that. And then whatever profit they can make off of that, off of that thing, they put it right into investing into the next thing.
Yeah. And not only that, they don't even
they get
have
tax credits for. Don't they get tax credits for investments as well?
No. But they're not paying taxes. Because what's happening is that money, whatever is invested and creates new revenue, that just gets rolled up into the trust. The trust never pays taxes because the money is never taken out to for that gain to be realized. But also they can live more cheaply because if a trust owns your dad's trust owns your house, you're not paying rent. You're not even buying the house. You're just living there.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's I got into a similar kind of question where it brought up into my head the other day. I was in a conversation with somebody about this. Like, like when we say this kind of stuff and these investments and these assets and all of that, and the fact that these, you know, billionaires don't actually make any money, so that way they can't, you know, pay taxes. Like, let's say Elon Musk one day wants to stop at a Burger King and get, you know, a #2 supersized meal. How does he pay for that?
Well, they might have some cash running around money. They probably use credit cards. And they might have, you know, they probably have an accountant. If they're wealthy enough, they probably have an accountant, you know, who kind of keeps track of that kind of stuff. But also, they may not be going to McDonald's. They might just have their staff, you know, their secretary go. And, but, you know, she'll be using like a company or family credit card or something like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of wealthy don't really carry cash. There was a story on the news about a woman who went on a date with Donald Trump back in the 70s, and he didn't have any money, and she ended up having to pay their meal, and he never paid her back. So yeah, this is,
that's what I always thought. Like, there's got to be a time where like Elon Musk was like going out to dinner with his girl and they got some drinks and stuff. Like, how does that get paid for? Or maybe at the end of the night when it's over, they like want to get really stoned and stop by a smoke shop and get a blunt wrap, you know. How does he pay for that? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, if they don't make any money, then how do they buy these nitpicky things that people buy on a daily basis that, you know, whether it's wants or needs or desires?
Well, they may be making some money. They may be like getting a retainer from the trust, and then they would pay taxes on that, unless they're, you know, they've made some other kind of arrangements. Like, one of the things that the rich, another way that the rich are able to suck away more money than we do, is because if they're making money on investments, it's taxed at a lower rate than income. And that's one of the things that Ronald Reagan and subsequent presidents since then have given us. They've lowered the capital gains tax rate. And so now it's like, what, 13% or something like that? Or it's very low. I think it might be 15%. But of course, then, you know, they'll take, you know, expenses off of that and so on and so forth. But that's how, like, you know, Mitt Romney said he only paid 13% tax. You know, that's because he's taking all of his income on capital gains. And this is one of the things. They've made it, and again, this is as these people are discussing, they made it complicated because they use different terminology. So, for instance, what is the term they use for? Sometimes you'll hear talk about raising the capital gains rate, and they call it the carried interest. So they call it the carried interest tool or whatever, you know, and that's the name of the term for it. So if they want to lower that tax, they lower the carried interest. That's how they do it. So, like, for instance, hedge fund managers, their income, they've gotten it so that their income is actually defined as capital gains. So you can be making $3 billion and you're paying 15% on it. Yeah. And so it's a completely unfair system. We basically and this is really, I mean, we've had these things always, but it's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
Right.
And the rich have used this, you know, unfamiliar terminology like carried interest, capital gains tax, things like that, things that you and I have no idea what they are, and nobody we know ever uses them. So we don't know. And this is really the unfortunate thing, I think, about our politics today, is that your average person, they have no idea how rich really is.
Right.
They have no idea when a person is a billionaire, they have no idea what their lifestyle is like. They never experience those people. They're never around them. And so what they do is they'll see, well, their nephew is a lazy screw off, and he's doing everything he can to not have to work. And so they'll pick on that without realizing the people who are really taking advantage of us are the people, at these top levels of income who know how to totally manipulate the system. Yep. And they hire very smart people to do their work for them. So in other words, do their financial planning and setting up how they're going to live. And and that's what places like Harvard, that's what they teach. They teach people how to manage rich people's money. Not only that, but that's one of the things they do.
Let me have that job. Shit.
So anyway, you'll see more about that as we go on.
Yep. All right, let's continue.
Kalena said it well. I think that phrase ownership limbo is part of what's going on here. Again, if we took the Steiner legacy here and put it into this trust, you could technically be both the person who put the money, Mark, you could put $1 billion into the trust. You could be the beneficiary. You could have me be the trustee, but I'm instructed to do whatever you want. But when it comes time to pay the taxes, you'll be like, I don't own that money. It's in a trust. So that's one of the games, one of the shell games that the ultra wealthy play. And their wealth managers will say, hey, we're just helping our clients obey the law. But what our report shows is that in certain states, the trust attorneys write the laws. They lobby these kind of citizen legislatures who don't understand this trust topic any better than you or I. And they say, sure, we'll do it. It's going to create jobs. It's going to bring money to South Dakota or Wyoming. And so they change their laws in a kind of race to like who will have the lowest standards, the lowest requirements.
So if you, this might be simplistic, but let me say this.
I just want to bring in something that I think is a parallel to this, which is he's saying that some of these states, they are, and they'll get into it more, but they're actually work actively on trying to maintain the lowest possible standard for these trusts, and they'll talk about it. But if you think about it, in a way, there's other things like that we have been subjected to that are similar to this. For instance, for the last, 40 years or so, we have had state and local governments competing constantly and being ruthlessly taken advantage of by corporations that say, okay, hey, we might want to build our plant in your town. What kind of tax breaks could you give us? Mm-hmm. Can you exempt us from maybe some of your labor requirements? Things like that. And so really, we have had a lot of government by blackmail, especially at the state and local level, really for decades. And this is just a similar kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, it seemed like right there to me, it seems like what's happening is that these really ultra rich people are, they've invented these terms that regular politicians and regular people don't understand yet. And then they send their people and their rich friends and their rich employees in to lobby these politicians and say, this is going to bring more jobs and this is going to bring more money. What can you offer me? And they're like taking advantage of the unknowledge, the I guess you would say the stupidity of politicians. And the politicians are just like eating right out of their hand, like, yes, please, let's do this, not realizing that it's these corporations that are actually benefiting off of this, and we're suffering. And now the politicians think that we're benefiting and we're not, and they think that CEOs and corporations are what makes a city. It kind of explains how we are in the situation that we are in now in America.
Yeah. And for many years, there has been the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. Have you heard of that?
Yep.
Okay, so you know what that is. Yep. And that is a group basically funded by major businesses that basically writes state and state legislation for our state representatives.
Right.
And what happens is they'll, take them to, like a nice hotel, a Hilton or, something like that. And, they'll wine and dine them. And then they'll say, oh, by the way, next time you're thinking about this kind of tax policy, here's some legislation we recommend.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and then like a couple weeks later, you find out that like two completely different states on opposite end of the country have word for word the exact legislation. And they're like, we wrote this and this will bring us to our town or bring our state up to date. And we're like, you two just got wined and dined by Alec. We could totally tell. That's obvious right there. And you guys are going back to your states and taking advantage of the stupidity of the regular people there that don't understand this stuff.
Right.
So it's just like from top down, everybody's just taking advantage of everybody else. It's wild.
And they spend just as much time trying to hide what they're taking advantage of as they do trying to take advantage of it. They spend just as much time trying to make it as unclear, as untransparent, opaque as possible. And that's what they pay a lot of smart people to do.
Yep. I could definitely see it. That's crazy.
Yep.
All right.
Questions. I think that after talking to a couple of folks after I read the report, it actually came up. And I think that I just want to clarify something here. That if I was a billionaire and I put my money in trust in South Dakota or in the state of DuPont, which is what I call Delaware, or places like that, and put my money there, does that mean that if you're wealthy, you just put your money there, it sits there, you don't have access to it, you can't use it, your kids can't use it? So what difference does it make?
The money is sort of booked there and banked there, but it could be anywhere. And I think this is important. Even with so-called offshore finance, the money often comes into U.S. markets. The United States is a very attractive place globally for wealthy people to park their money, and so it holds its value. So it could be in real estate or art or finance. So that money is just, the trust is off investing in things. It's just that's where they set up the entity to hold it, but that money could be invested anywhere. And that's one of the things we learned a year ago when the Pandora Papers were published, is the United States is now a destination for all this billionaire wealth from around the world. It's coming here, it's going into trusts, and a lot of it's probably staying in the United States, particularly in luxury real estate and other assets that the wealthy like to buy and hold their wealth.
So clear
Can you pause it?
Yeah, which is what they're doing right now. They're doing it now.
Exactly. And that's a big part of the reason why, especially in big cities where, people like to visit and things like that, they're buying property in those places and they're pricing regular people completely out of the market.
Yep.
So,
and it's still going.
Yep. And that money goes around. What happens is, this is the essence of globalism. What happens is you have all these rich people and they have these massive pools of money, and what they're constantly doing is looking for a return. And so that money moves around the world looking for the place that they're going to get their most out of it. And that's where they put it. And it can really screw up economies, and it can, and then on top of it, it's preventing it's preventing others from being able to access wealth. So.
Yeah. Is it because they're like actually building these huge luxury high-rise apartment buildings, but not moving anyone in? And it's worth so much money. And that's what's making everything around it worth so much money, and people can't afford it. But you're literally creating this building that's luxury and worth $1 bazillion, but no one is living in it. And so it's like a waste of land, waste of property, but to where people can't even live there because it's just unlivable for the prices.
Let me tell you, when I was a kid, when taxes were very high then. So when most of my, in the 60s, the highest tax rate was 70%. And so there were houses that you would go to see, like a Vanderbilt house or this person's house or this person's house, as a tourist attraction. And it was a tourist attraction because this was back in the days of robber barons, and you'd go and you'd see this gilded, woodworking, and you'd see all this expensive stuff, and you'd think, wow, these people, they were really, it was amazing how they lived. Thank goodness it's not like that anymore. But it changed, and now we're back to that.
Dang, you got to see it good during the good times.
I did, and that's why I want to try to share this information with people, because everybody should have the good times that I had. My generation was lucky, very lucky, but there's no reason why every American generation shouldn't have it. And in fact, nobody in this world should be starving to death.
Exactly. Or without a home over their head, or without clean running water. Right. Basic necessities to literally stay alive.
Right. And thank you for reminding me, because a point I wanted to make was real estate is the way the middle class accumulated wealth. And when you prevent people from being able to buy real estate because it's so expensive, it's been priced out of the market by domestic and foreign billionaires, you're preventing the middle class from accumulating wealth.
Yep. And what's crazy too is, like, once they get up to that point too, where they're like, the house is worth this much money. It's like they fight so hard to never drop the value of their houses. It's like they turn into absolute Karens and get their way, because there's, like, I live on a mountain here, but there's certain areas that are a lot more rich than other areas on this mountain. And the really rich area is right by Lake Arrowhead. It's like literally on the lake. The houses are all gated off. Every house there is at least worth $1 million. And I remember LAX had put a new flight path, and they adjusted so happened to put it right over Lake Arrowhead. We're in an unincorporated area, so they went all the way down to the city to talk to our board of supervisors and all these other people to move the airplane path away from where they are, so they wouldn't lose their property value, and moved it over here where I am in the poorer area, and there was nothing we can do about it. And they actually got away with it just so that their house value would not decrease.
Yeah, and that is one of the most important things about the wealthy. And the difference between them and the rest of us. They know how to protect their wealth, and they know how important protecting their wealth is.
Yeah. It's wild to me how they got away with that kind of stuff. And now we have to deal with it, but we don't know how to do anything about it. And it's not a big deal anyway. I'm pretty sure we're all used to it. Okay, let's continue.
All that in essence means that you can put the money in trusts, but you can still use it to increase your wealth. That's where I think people have a disconnect.
It is increasing your wealth, because the money in trust is always invested in something. So it's always growing. And that's why we say that trust assets are going to grow virtually untaxed for generations, because they are growing and earning.
So in the study, when you look at these states, you talk about current trust assets, you talk about the current number of trust companies, tax inequality rank, personal income tax, inheritance tax, rules against perpetuities, and let's talk about those terms mean. So when people look at this, they kind of understand what we're talking about here. And again, I'll start with Chuck and just go back and forth. I mean, Kalina, so to understand what we're actually talking about here, and how deep it is, and why, and how pervasive it is, and how it creates. Let's start with this. How it creates tax inequality. That, to me, Kalina, is like one of a huge issue. People always complain about how much taxes we pay and don't get much for it. And how does this fit into all that?
So I think that we can look at it at a national level and at a state level. So at a national level, these billionaires, no matter where they live, they can put their money in trust in what we call trust haven states and virtually avoid taxation. And so they're avoiding their money being sent to the federal coffers, right? So that's a very clear case of expanding inequality and hurting the residents of everyone in the U.S. But you can look at it on a state level too, and how it actually affects those state residents, because the trust industry isn't going to want to set up in a state that has like really high individual income taxes and capital gains taxes. And so the states that we profile, they have very regressive state tax structures. And so they don't have, generally, they don't have income taxes. Instead, they rely a lot, particularly on sales taxes, which we know disproportionately are paid by the poorest people. And so that reduced revenue that you get because of the regressive tax structures, that's the problem, that the revenue's not going to public services or infrastructure. And so many of the states that we profile, I think it's seven or eight of the states that we profile are in the very bottom of state spending when you rank states by state spending, because they just don't have the money.
Okay, could you pause it?
And check. And part of the reason I don't have the money is because.
Okay, so I want to go over something that she was talking about there, and this is important, I think, because not everybody understands this. When I was teaching economics, one of the hardest things I had to get across to students was the equity impacts of taxes. And what I mean by that is you can think of taxes as being either regressive, proportional, or progressive. And what that means is that that is referring to how the tax responds as your income goes up. And so if you don't have a lot of income, what that means is that, okay, if you don't have income, first of all, you're not going to pay income taxes, right? Because you don't, by definition, have an income. Right. But we pay many, many different kinds of taxes. We pay gasoline taxes. We pay sales taxes. We pay property taxes, Social Security taxes, things like that. And so different types of taxes are structured in different ways, so that sometimes they affect the poor more proportionately than the wealthy. So sales tax is a perfect one, because many states don't have sales taxes on food, but some states do. And, so if you're going to the grocery store and you're paying 5% of your grocery bill in taxes, that's going to hurt. And it's not going to hurt somebody who's making $1 million a year and goes and buys the same amount of groceries and pays the same amount of taxes. And so that's what we call a regressive tax. It's regressive against your income. And one of the things that's confusing about it is people don't always understand. Well, they say, well, the rate's the same no matter what your income. The issue is not what the rate is. The issue is, how does it compare relative to your income? And so that's what progressive, proportional, and regressive mean. And many state and localities focus, they use more regressive types of taxation to fund their coffers. So if you have a state that doesn't have an income tax, you have a state that taxes its poor people very heavily.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. That makes sense.
Because the trusts, and how does that fit in?
Yeah, I think that trusts are one of the ways in which wealthy people avoid taxes. ProPublica did a study where they, based on a huge leak that showed that of the 100 richest people in the United States, half of them use a particular type of trust called a GRAT and to avoid estate tax. So estate tax is like the inheritance tax. It's really our anti-dynasty tax. And the estate tax has become effectively voluntary for the ultra wealthy because they're just planning, mostly using trusts, but other gimmicks as well to avoid it. So we're talking probably hundreds of billions of potential revenue a year. We think there's almost $6 trillion in trusts. We think that's the low end of the estimate because a lot of this is hidden and we don't know where it is.
What do you mean it's hidden?
So it's really the way to think about it, meaning it's sequestered or hidden in these trusts, a lot of which don't have to report who their real owners or beneficiaries are. And I should say, Mark, if you go to South Dakota, what do they got that, say, Massachusetts or New York doesn't have?
Cows.
Their secret sauce is secrecy. Yeah, aside from Mount Rushmore, or whatever. Their secret sauce is secrecy. We won't ever divulge who you are, who the real beneficiaries are. No tax. We're not going to tax your trust. We're not going to put any requirements on you financially. And longevity. Your trust will live forever. We're going to change the law so that the trust can exist for centuries. And so it becomes attractive if you're thinking in a very dynastic, multi-generational way. What about the great-grandchildren? How do we make sure that they're still going to be billionaires? We're going to use this system of trusts. And we're going to review in the process.
Okay. Yeah. So he hit on a couple things there. He's talking about these trusts, but he also mentioned the estate tax.
Yeah.
And, the estate tax, there's many, there's ways they can get around the estate tax. Not maybe, if you're very, very wealthy, maybe it's impossible to get around it 100%, but trusts are one way. Another thing is, if you think about, I noticed like just this huge change in our society in 1980. And one of the things that happened, it wasn't just Reagan who ran for president. Steve Forbes ran for president. Steve Forbes was Malcolm Forbes' son. Malcolm was still alive then. So what do you think Steve Forbes' main thing that he was pushing for his for his campaign?
Probably no taxes.
Getting rid of the estate tax.
Yeah.
Steve was like, okay, Dad's getting old here. And, before that time, it was very accepted that people paid estate taxes. And, people expected and knew that estate taxes prevented, at least to some degree, dynastic wealth from, being accumulated. Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, what happened was Steve Forbes and these Grover Norquist and these various think tanks and other similar groups, they were able to change the dialogue. And now what happens is, they kind of, a lot of people who have any kind of money, they tend to glom on to that inheritance thing, and they support what really is beneficial to the most wealthy people. They just don't understand that this is, in the long term, really, really bad for society.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's because we keep our debt clock keeps going up and we keep getting taxed the crap out of us, and everybody's afraid of the debt clock and wanting to balance the budget and not realizing that these rich people are secretly getting away with the reason why our debt clock keeps rising so much.
Right. The debt clock doesn't matter to them. It only matters to the rest of us who get suckered into thinking this stuff. Exactly. Yeah. So, exactly. But that's another good argument for knowledge about MMT.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to shift the tax off of the rich onto everyone else in that process.
So this is not necessarily in your report, but one of the things that struck me as I was reading it and listening to what you were saying now is, how is it that most people in this country, most citizens of this country who work salaried or whatever they work and pay taxes, don't know about this? I mean, we're not talking about like a couple of million or a couple of $1 billion. We're talking about trillions of dollars in this country that go untaxed, that are not paid by people who are U.S. citizens because they're wealthy and hide them in these trusts. How can it be? I mean, and it's just not, and you just can't point your finger at Republicans. Even most of these states are controlled by Republicans. It's not a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. It's both parties because they're both in it. So, why do you think we don't know about this? And let's talk a bit about what it means if we actually did something about this.
So I think that a lot of it is tied into just how obscure the world of elite wealth is, and the elites, like, people often talk about the top 1%, but this isn't the top 1% that we're talking about. This is like the top 0.01%, essentially. It's super
Right.
wealthy, not even millionaires, but people who have like over $30 million, or billions, right? So multi-millionaires and billionaires, people that we just typically don't really know. And the world that they inhabit is just very different from our everyday lives. And it's because of they do business with this trust industry. Like, it is the trust industry behind all of this. Like, when we say that a wealthy person is stashing money in South Dakota, they maybe don't know how to do that. All they know is that they're going to call up their accountant, who has a lot of extremely wealthy clients, and their accountant is going to figure it out for them. So I think a lot of it is just like, can you afford to pay millions of dollars to hide your billions of dollars? That's what's really here. Is like, it's a different world. That's why people don't really know what's going on.
I think Kalina said it perfectly. I mean, even the billionaires themselves probably don't know how these trusts work. But it's the hired help that figure it out.
I mean, if the United States is kind of host to almost $5.66 trillion worth of assets hidden in this country, and as I said in the very beginning, we think of these things as being offshore assets, but they're here. And laws were passed that tried to deal with offshore assets, and we can talk a bit about that. But how does that relate to how you deal with it here? What can be done to address that? I mean, as an example, I drive around. We're broadcasting from Baltimore. Maryland happens to be one of the states that is not one of the worst in the country when it comes to this stuff, according to your report. But I drive around and I see development that needs to happen, jobs that need to happen, and poverty and crime in a city like Baltimore. It takes assets to make that happen, and we have no access to them. So I'd like you to talk just about A, how you think they get away with it. What do they do politically to get away with this? And B, what we can do about it. How do we change this dynamic?
Okay, so the thing is, I've lived in 5 different states, and I grew up in a steel town. It was steel textiles. By the time I reached adulthood, both those industries were gone. And I lived in the Midwest during the farm crisis of the 80s. And by the time of the end of the 1980s, if you drove around Iowa, you would see these towns that had been small communities that were vibrant, but now basically are just like old people, because their kids moved off someplace where they could get a job. And so these towns are, dying. I lived in Hyde Park, New York, which is just north of Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie had the most beautiful Victorian houses. And you drive around Poughkeepsie and you see that these houses are all divided up into apartments, and they've been, let go because people can't afford to maintain them. And you see this wealth just draining out of this country because it's being wasted, because people don't have jobs, or they don't have decent jobs. And he mentioned Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the, really sad places in this country. And it shouldn't, it's sad because it was a working class town, for, a lot of dock workers and things like that. Baltimore has a long history, but it has really suffered, with the closing of ports there, and, just kind of abandonment by industry. And so what we have is we have wealthy people in this country hiding their wealth, and rather than investing in communities, rather than investing in industry, rather than investing really in the educational system, they are hiding this money and preventing it from getting into circulation. And we can say, well, they earned the money, but obviously the trusts belie that many of them have earned the money. So it's a very sad situation. And I think this is just a really important issue that needs to be talked about. So, sorry, just wanted to offer my life experience there.
Right. No, and Ghost Star makes a good point. 100 million weekly to Ukraine. If that doesn't give them an MMT clue, nothing will. So, yeah.
Oh, and that's the thing. War is nothing but destructive. We're destroying wealth. We're destroying assets. We're destroying ways people make a living. We're destroying their homes. War is nothing but destructive.
Right. And it doesn't go to us. It just goes to these really rich guys like owners of Lockheed and Northrop, and then, goes off to Ukraine to help them out. And it just never benefits any of us here. No. I know it sounds very nationalistic, but it's the truth.
It is the truth. And in fact, see, this is the point. We have had an economic and industrial policy in the U.S. since the late 70s that has not benefited the American people. We've not been taken care of by our leaders.
Right.
What's the point of having a country when you don't take care of your people?
Right. And what's crazy is isn't that around the same time that we got off of the gold standard as well too? So it's
the gold standard was a little bit earlier. That was at the beginning of the 70s. Yeah. Okay. That was at the beginning of the 70s.
Okay. Because it seems like we changed it to at least free ourselves for being tied down to this gold that was a finite object. But then after when that happened, when we became a free floating fiat currency, it's like, oh, there's all this money we can produce now that the rich people are like, well, then let's figure out a way to get it all without the people getting all of it. So
actually, sometime I have to show you this work by a guy named Anwar Sheikh, who's an economist, and I will talk about his work sometime, and it will show you just a complete reset that happened in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's pretty amazing. So
okay, that makes sense. Yoda, you're not gonna be on tonight? Oh, bro. Yeah, no, take a break. Holy shit, Yona. I know. Yeah, Yona, you need to chill out and relax. Watch me and Warren tonight. Me and Warren are going to be live tonight. So you can come and hang out with us and just relax. All right, let's continue.
Yeah, I think it's true that this is really a national issue, even though the trust havens kind of undermine the system for every state. So it's hard in Maryland to tax the wealthy to pay for infrastructure, to pay just their fair share when they've moved that money across state lines into these trusts. So in a way, the fix is going to have to be federal. These states aren't going to reform themselves. And so we basically say, look, first of all, trusts are secretive. Well, let's require that they be registered. and that the beneficiaries be registered. Let's just outlaw trusts that only exist for tax dodging and to put wealth into that ownership limbo that Kalena described. And let's hire people at the IRS who know how these shell games work so they can follow the money and make sure the rich are paying their share. And as you implied, Mark, the rest of the world is sort of waking up, and the European countries are requiring more disclosure and transparency, and the United States has become the weak link. And then within the United States, we have these trust havens that are kind of the weak link in the system. It's actually not that hard to fix it. It requires federal action to just amend trust law to basically require transparency, registration, and require reporting on what's already in these trusts. That would be the first step, really.
And Kalena, I mean, if we actually address this issue, the trillions of dollars that are hidden away, where taxes are not being paid either for the state or to the federal government, I mean, it would set off, I would think, a huge battle in this country. I mean, I think the populace overwhelmingly would say, yes, tax this, because it's not fair we're paying, they're not. But it would set off a battle, because clearly the power they have to create the laws in these states that allow them to hide their money is not something they're going to give up easily. So how do you address that, do you think? How do we begin to put our hands around that?
That is a very good question, and one that's kind of difficult to answer, because I think that we like to think about solutions and not so much the political way to get there, because the solutions seem so far away. But I think that what it just will require is more conversations like what we're having now, because obviously there's more people who aren't super rich billionaires than there are super rich billionaires. And so if more people actually knew about this problem and knew how to talk about it, then that would be a real positive change. And as Chuck already said earlier, it's really difficult because this topic is so complicated. Like, I mean, when I talk about it, people's eyes kind of glaze over. But
right, no, I understand. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when you start talking about like the secrecy, it gets a little more interesting. And that's kind of what we need to hammer home, like you've been, the fact that there's trillions hidden, and sometimes hidden in plain sight. Like some states do publish how much trust wealth is in their borders. Some states don't publish it at all and will not give it to reporters emailing them. And as Chuck said, like some of it is hidden, like it's unregulated. We don't know how much there is, but we have the 5.6 trillion number as a conservative estimate, and that's trust and estate assets. So we can't put a figure on trust assets themselves. We just know that it's increasing. Like the 5.6 trillion of trust and estate assets has increased by more than $1 trillion. That's an increase of more than $1 trillion in just the past year. And so the explosion of wealth that we're seeing, all of that is going into, not all of that, but a lot of that is going into trust. And we're seeing an explosion in trust wealth as well.
Okay, we can pause it.
Yeah,
and in fact, I think we can just end this. I think I would recommend that, if people want to hear the rest of it, they might want to go look this up. You can just find it on YouTube. I know we're getting really long in here, Jimmy, so I need to want to.
No, we're good. We're good. See, that's what trips me out right there too, is like, how is that even fair that even if we do pass these kind of laws and amend these kind of laws, and they're going to, obviously we expect these rich people to fight back. How is it fair that now, because we know that this is going to happen, that we have to like literally like hammer it into our subconscious and our culture and what we pass down to generations to like be watchdogs for these guys, because the second we turn our eyes away and try to live our lives because things are going good, it's going to be a repeat all over again. How's that's just what's not even fair, is like their continual taking advantage of things to make their lives better and us suffer. But as soon as we try to fight back against these small percentage of really rich people and then live our lives because we want a little bit, they just take it all back away. It's like,
yeah,
that's not fair. We have to be forever watchdogs over these kinds of people.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. And you know, the thing is, we were brainwashed so much over the decades. Like in my generation, we were taught, well, America is really great and we have this great economic system, and every generation is going to get wealthier and wealthier. We have this wonderful system. But when you actually read history, you realize, for one thing, it wasn't, none of this stuff was like automatic. It's not that this is a natural phenomenon that comes out of capitalism.
Right.
These things are all structured. And so what happened was, we had the Great Depression. We had decades of class warfare. And then we had the Great Depression, in which the situation, the economy was so messed up. And also part of it was the impact of World War I. Europe was still a mess from World War I. And so we had this horrible depression. We had leaders that were smart enough to start actually thinking about the fact that if you want to have a capitalist system and that's based on consumption, then you need to have people be able to consume.
Right.
And then we had World War II, in which we saw fascism, and we saw a lot of the economic consequences that came about because of fascism. And again, our leaders learned, and so they created a system in which fascism was basically not able to evolve much, and so it's not that we didn't have bad things then, but we had a lot of things working for a lot of policies that worked for the middle class. And what happened was, the wealthy, they got put in their place, and they didn't like it, and they actually kind of accepted it for a while. And so in the 60s, when I was a kid, in the 60s, when I was a kid, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment.
Don't listen to the comments. I'm just popping them up so that everybody knows that I'm listening to them too.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I wouldn't say that there weren't greedy people or anything like that, but I think the wealthy had been kind of put in their place to a certain degree. And there was more of an acceptance of the idea that people who are wealthy had been blessed by a system that helped make them wealthy. And I'm not saying all what rich people thought that, and I'm not saying all, poor people thought this was acceptable, or middle class people. But what I'm saying is, there was a little bit more of that attitude, the noblesse oblige kind of thing. But it changed. It just changed. And the world changed, the economy changed. So in 1970s, not only did we go off the gold standard, but we also saw the rise of Japan and Germany. They became our industrial competitors. And we didn't respond well. American business, they got used to being top banana. And so we didn't always maybe invest the way we should. Then we had the 1970s inflation, and that just threw everything off. That was when the wealthy realized they weren't making any money, because inflation was eating away at it. And labor had power, and they had sufficient power that they were able to get raises to cover at least much of the inflation. And so really what happened was in the 70s, there was a certain amount of wealth shifting away from the wealthy to the middle class. And if you ever saw a movie, there's a great movie. It's so funny. It's called Lost in America. And at the beginning of the movie, this movie was made in the early 80s. At the beginning of the movie, Albert Brooks talks about how they got a ride in the inflation train and now they're like wealthy. And so what happens is in the movie, they sell everything. They take they're going to go on a tour of America, but they lose all their money right at the start in Las Vegas. So the rest of it's kind of a humorous how they deal with this. So, but it's a funny movie. But it actually goes to show you people benefited from it. Average people benefited in some ways from inflation in the 70s. That came to a halt in the 1980s when they brought, what's his name? Paul Volcker in. Okay. And Reagan came in too.
Yes. Then Reagan came in. Okay. That makes sense. Holy crap. Yona says capitalism is just conquering and destruction. Absolutely. This was really, really good. The oligarchs call it targeted neutralization. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a great discussion because I think, first of all, we saw, okay, with their wealth, they can get around paying taxes in their local area. So if you're rich and you live in New York, you can donate a bunch of artwork to the Met and get your taxes cut. Then you got all this other money that you're trying to hide. So you send it to South Dakota and you set up a trust there and your kids are set for life. And so are your grandkids and their kids. But this is all stuff that we don't know about. And we've also been lied to about so many things. Like, for instance, part of the brainwashing of the 80s was anti-government. And with that came hating on the IRS. Well, the IRS's job is to make people pay taxes.
Right.
So if everybody's hating on the IRS, who do you think really benefits?
Right. Exactly. Let's see. Ghostart says Japan and Turkey didn't raise interest rates and reduce the deficit like U.S. and their economies have stabilized.
Yep.
Is that true?
Well, I really don't know because I haven't been following them. But Japan, so I can't really say for sure. But yeah, right. Not every country has responded the way we have.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah, I know. Did you hear recently about Liz Truss is gone, stepped down anyway, but like she was wanting to privatize the NHS.
Oh,
like she was really hardcore trying to be like America, and all the citizens of England were like, no, we ain't backtracking.
They've been trying to privatize the NHS for a while, and she was making it. She was being more hardcore about it, but. The American insurance industry wants to get at the British market.
So bad, but the people aren't having it. They're like, we know what we got and we're not getting rid of it. We ain't backtracking our lives.
Good for them.
Exactly.
And, one of the things that I just find so amazing about the British NHS is think about where Britain was when it started the NHS. Okay? Britain had been through World War I and was bankrupted. In World War I, they had suffered through the 1920s because, they were still trying to get their economy back together. They suffered through the 1930s. Then World War II happened, and they were just completely broken, financially by that. And what did they do at the end of World War II? They created the NHS. Why? Because they had all really suffered from the bombing in that Germany, committed in the early part of the war, and they said, we are all in this together. And, even though we don't have a lot of money, we're going to take care of each other.
Yep. And they did. And they kept it.
So we can afford health care here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We could definitely afford healthcare here for sure. It's because we're monetarily sovereign anyway, just the easiest put of it right there, So we can nationalize it just like they did. Deliberate coordinated recession. Oh, deliberate coordinated recession. Stephanie Kelton. Look at Ghost Start. He knows Stephanie Kelton. Good
Oh,
job.
does he?
Yeah, he's said her name, so that's awesome. Go Start.
Mm.
Okay. I don't want to keep you on any much longer unless you want to stay on and hang out some more.
Well, I should probably get going.
Okay.
And so, but it was good time talking to you.
Yeah.
And
How can people find you?
we gotta get something set up. And there may be an email right now. Right now, I think maybe we could send people to KRTD website, and there's probably a contact thing there.
Okay. I think we're working on updating the site right now, so it's
Okay.
definitely down. But maybe just get a hold of me and then I'll get a hold of you.
Yeah, that would work. That would work fine too. Yeah,
Okay.
I've kind of gone off social media, so I don't have access to that stuff.
I know. I try to tag you in all the things for the video today, and there's no Sherry around here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of got tired of it.
Well, I get it. I get it. Social media is hard. It's
Yeah, and
very
now I'm
hard.
enjoying not having it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I bet.
so anyway,
I bet. I know I
okay.
stick to like one or two and I'll stick with those for a little bit and then like I'll switch to something else and not get into one. And I can only handle a little bit of them at a time because, you got
Mhm,
like Facebook is just a bunch of like complainers and whiners and
mhm,
grifters. And then you got Twitter, which is just full of trolls and shit starters. And then you got like TikTok that's like can be like a mixture of really good information and some kid who danced in front of a mirror in his bathroom and has 50 million views. It's a
mhm.
random modge podge of crap.
Yeah,
And then you got like Instagram, which is it's always pictures and ads. It's like either picture ad, picture ad, picture ad. So that's
yeah.
it. Social media
There's
is
one thing I miss from Instagram, and there was a guy. There's a guy who puts up videos named Gator Chris. He works at a Florida wildlife sanctuary, and so they bring on if they bring in nuisance gators. So they're like a gator, shows up in somebody's swimming pool after a rainstorm or something.
Yeah.
So they bring these gators in and they train them to kind of behave, and then they're part of a tourist kind of show. So Gator Chris, I miss him. He was pretty good.
Definitely.
But
That's cool. That's cool. Les Bone says, Sherry. So definitely excited you were here. Ghost Art says, the Japan turkey thing you got from Warren Mosler's article. Awesome. Yona says, great presentation, Sherry. I absolutely agree. Miguel put some gators in there for you.
thank you.
All right. I will not keep you any longer. Thank you. If you guys want to get a hold of Sherry for any questions, concerns, or anything like that, please get a hold of me and I will forward it straight over to Sherry. So thank you, Sherry, for coming.
So I'm not fired?
No. He's definitely not fired at all. You are more than welcome to come back. Sherry, you're going to be back not next Friday, but the following Friday, right?
Yep. Every
All
other
right.
Friday I'm off work, so I will show up if you want me.
All right. So every other Friday, you guys keep an eye out for Sherry. She'll be back here in 2 weeks. So thank you, Sherry.
Bye-bye. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, you guys. Yes, thanks, Sherry, Miguel. Thank you. Warren, thank you. Yes, absolutely. She was awesome. I love hanging out with Sherry. Sherry's like one of my favorite boomers ever. So she's so cool. She's really awesome. We used to want to start a show. We were gonna start a show, or we've been in talks for a couple of years now of like a young person, like a millennial or a Gen Zer with a boomer, and talk about the differences of like how life was then and then how life is now, cultural stuff, how people, how we understand things when it comes to like life and everything compared to what they understood back in the time. So kind of like a millennial boomer type show. So I think this is going to be really fun having her on every other Wednesday. Maybe we can even get into that kind of stuff, because she was even talking about what was going on in history up into the, to the 80s today. So I think that's going to be really, really, really fun to bring her back. So yay! I'm so happy she was here. That was really cool. And plus it like got rid of almost 2 hours for me. Less work for me, baby. I'm excited. So that was all about the billionaire tax evasion type stuff. If you guys want to check out that video yourself, I'm going to post it into the comment section right now. There it is. I see it. So you guys can go check out that video if you want to, and see the rest of it. And I don't know, maybe give that guy a follow. I have no idea. So what we can talk about now, we'll get into some of the more funner stuff. So let's get into this. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay. So Ethan Klein yesterday or the day before did a live stream where he said a little bit of some, I guess Hassan calls it some spicy stuff. Definitely poor taste. Ended up getting canceled. So we're gonna kind of go through a little bit of what happened. And I think Philip DeFranco at least gives a good summary of everything that happened, and then we'll like get a little bit more into detail of what's going on with some Twitter stuff. And plus, I have to pee. It's about that time. So we'll get started on this, and I'm gonna go run to the bathroom.
Ethan Klein facing a lot of backlash right now. The host of the H3 podcast talking about Kanye West and all the controversy surrounding the anti-Semitism that he's been spewing lately. Talking about how Kanye had been hanging out with the likes of Candace Owens, then leading them to talk about her work with the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro. At that part of the conversation, you had people saying Ethan went DEFCON 3.
Got another fucked up joke I wanted to say.
Easy, Tiger.
I was just gonna say, if there's another Holocaust and people start rounding up the Jews, I just say if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first or last.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Really not to.
What's up?
Not to speak.
Off the rails is Wednesday.
In big trouble.
Can I not say that?
Yes,
In
you
big
can.
trouble.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What am I
on
gonna?
one
What
today.
am I gonna? I can't. I'm not doing anything. I'm part of the. I'm getting gassed too.
With him almost instantly facing a ton of criticism and backlash, largely from conservatives and far-right figures in particular, as well as others calling Ethan a scumbag, arguing that his channel should be deleted. People saying if Kanye deserves to be called out for his remarks, Ethan should as well. You also had others saying they don't agree with Ben Shapiro's views, but they think
Which I kind of agree with that. If Kanye's not allowed to, say whatever he's been saying all week, then this guy shouldn't, be doing it either. Whether or not he is a Jew, I don't think anybody should be wishing the death upon anyone whatsoever. So, Yona's new song with Kanye West. No way. All right, let's watch this, and I'm going to go look for it.
too far. All this even leading to a response from Shapiro himself saying, if there was another Holocaust, I would hope that Ethan and his family escaped. But maybe that's just me. But to that, H3 responded saying, hey, Ben, it's a joke. Do conservatives know what those are? And sure, in poor taste, but not as poor taste as you platforming anti-Semites who spread dangerous conspiracies that leads to real violence against Jews. That's the meaning of my joke, but of course you don't care about context. And Ethan doubled down on the same stance today during his podcast with Hassan Piker, who said this was a lot of manufactured outrage.
They always do this. They try to deflect away and go, what about this guy? He's actually anti-Semitic. Or what about this guy? He's the real racist. It's a classic conservative trope at this point to turn around and find anything and everything they can to shift the attention away. And you gave them an opening with colorful language like that, for sure.
Along those lines,
He's definitely being super nice. Hassan is being super nice too, because that's obviously his friend, instead of just being straight up yo, bro, you shouldn't have said something like that. Because yeah, you obviously know the conservatives are going to take a hold of this kind of stuff, but I hate to say it, and I really don't want to do it, but I kind of agree with Ben Shapiro on this. I would have never said something like that. Even if I was a Jew, if I was Jewish, I would never call Holocaust death on anyone else that was in the same situation, no matter what kind of person that is. Even if Ben Shapiro platforms and anti-Semites on a regular basis, I still don't think it should happen. He shouldn't have even said something like that. I mean, it is just words, but it's still like violent rhetoric. It's like a very, very weird, kind of a iffy place to be walking on.
You also had a lot of people defending Ethan as well. People posting things like Ethan Klein is Jewish. Jews are allowed to make dark jokes about our own history, and adding like it's funny when MAGA freaks and conservatives cry about this shit, but you obviously do not care about Jewish people. Stop pretending we already know you hate us. As well as no one believes Ethan Klein is an anti-Semite. They know he is Jewish and that this was a joke. Klein has literally been swatted by neo-Nazis. But still, you had others saying, yeah, he can be a Jewish person, but that doesn't justify joking about someone being murdered. And actually, in a huge update to this story, it happened while I was filming this video. Looks like YouTube is cracking down on Ethan Klein right now, with a video where Ethan made the original joke about Shapiro getting taken down for harassment and bullying, and then even the new live stream today got taken down, with Hassan even going on his own stream later to confirm that it was taken down.
I woke up early this morning and I went over to Leftovers and I shot Leftovers, and you guys won't be able to see the episode if you weren't watching live. And the reason for that is because it's been taken down. They came after our boy. They came after Ethan for saying things that were definitely, you know, a little spicy, a spicy facility. Okay.
See how they say spicy instead of just
full spice.
Bad
Spicy
taste.
facility with it, and of course he caught a strike because conservatives love outrage. So here we are.
And regarding the spicy comments, you had some pointing to this moment.
And so, but yeah, okay. So the usual suspects come along, all basically, I would say, if not openly anti-Semitic, or like anti-Semitic adjacent. All these people, like if there's another Holocaust, these are the people pushing the button. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? Candace Owens is going to be the one to usher Ben right into that chamber. You know what I'm talking about? And say, bye-bye, old Benny boy.
Once again, this is updating in real time. This is a developing story. So while we wait to see what happens next, if we get more answers, I'll pass the question on.
God damn it. Always. Thank you. Damn it. I gotta keep remembering that mute button. Okay. So that's that is Philip DeFranco's really good quick overview of what happened. So here's the actual video of what he said during it. So here's
I was just gonna say, if there's another Holocaust and people start rounding up the Jews, I just say, if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first.
So those were his spicy comments. Definitely not okay at all whatsoever. This guy makes a decent point. All the right wingers pretending that they don't understand the points are hilarious. The point is that Ben Shapiro enables Nazis. Therefore, it would be poetic irony if he was to be the first victimized by his own allies. I mean, I get the joke, but still, you would never want to say something like that. Even though he says this guy doesn't care about Ethan Klein, it's still like, okay, I understand the joke, but it's very, very, very bad taste. Like extremely bad taste. Here's a this is Ethan Klein himself on Twitter. This is kind of like his little thread that he went through yesterday. This was kind of like his long explanation of things. A few white supremacists successfully lobbied YouTube to suspend me, a Jewish dual citizen of Israel and USA, for anti-Semitism. Ben Shapiro and friends can virtue signal all they want, but ultimately they are the ones platforming dangerous anti-Semites. All I did was point it out. Ethan Klein posted about the Palestinian-Israel conflict, and so Ben Shapiro had written soft peddling genocidal terror groups Hamas. Obviously, we're on the side of Palestine, so he's definitely like not good with you know, that part. But then he says, Ben Shapiro, who was happy to perform a purity test on me and declare me a bad Jew for criticizing Israel. Host Candace Hitler just wanted to make Germany great again. Owens on his website, Daily Wire. This just seems like a back and forth fighting between, you know, two Jewish people of who's the worst, who's the bad Jew and who's the good Jew. It just seems like to me. The joke that I was suspended for, simply pointing out that Ben, who is desperate to be accepted by his Christian nationalist friends as white, will only ever be seen as by them as a useful idiot. The people reporting me, except Ben, are tiki torch carrying white Jewish or white Christian nationalists. They don't give a fuck about anti-Semitism or Jewish people. They revel in the fact that YouTube and other institutions are so quick to act on bad faith. I mean, people of the right are also being censored on YouTube and other places as well. So it just seems like he's kind of preaching to the choir on this. He's just got a strike and kind of went off the rails about this. When this happens to conservatives all the time, being canceled and all of that. So our current lawsuit with Ryan Kavanaugh seeks to accomplish the same. I will not back down or silenced by bad faith provocateurs. I make no apology. As Ben Shapiro says, facts don't care about your feelings if only he meant it. And once again, I humbly request that all naysayers, haters, detractors, and fallen fans alike. Oh, geez. We don't want to go there, Mr. Ben Shapiro, or I mean, Mr. Ethan Klein, Jesus Christ. So here's what, am I going to watch? No, I wanted to watch. Let me just present this so I'm not like doing this, you know, in a tunnel. You guys aren't seeing. I don't know why this one popped up, but so Ben Shapiro did responding to Ethan Klein's comments right here. It's only 3 minutes long. So
I did comment on a guy who apparently is a YouTuber and gamer of some sort. I'll admit I have not followed his work at all because, frankly, it doesn't seem particularly noteworthy. He's a YouTube star, apparently named Ethan Klein. Okay, and he apparently has some problems with me that culminated in him suggesting that if there's another Holocaust, I should be the first to go. Which, last I checked, is the sort of thing that gets you kicked off of YouTube if you are a right winger. But apparently, he's a big left winger, so that's totally fine. There is Ethan.
But I mean, obviously he made this before he got his strike. So he did get, I mean, not canceled, but he definitely got striked.
Klein being a delightful human being.
I was just going to say, if there's another Holocaust, if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first.
Well, that's nice. See, I have a rule generally, which is I don't want people killed in the Holocaust. Like if another Holocaust happens, despite the fact that Ethan Klein seems like a rather unpleasant human being, I would hope that both he and his family would escape. It seems like also worth noting here that Ethan Klein, who is chuckling about the Holocaust there, he seems particularly fond of Hamas, which is an actual genocidal.
So, I mean, not that part right there, but right before where he was like, I wouldn't want, you know, I would want his family to escape and all of that. Like, damn, Ethan Klein, you really got to make me agree with fucking Ben Shapiro. Like, God damn it. He's fucking right. Like, I wouldn't want to put that on anyone else either. You literally opened the door for Ben Shapiro and conservatives to take the high road and win this one. Like, you fucked yourself, Ethan Klein. You did this to yourself, dude. So, yeah, exactly. Yikes. Right. Now he's going to get into like the Hamas stuff, and I don't really care about the Hamas stuff because obviously this is the right conservative talking points.
Terrorist group which wants to kill everyone. It doesn't justify the total destruction of that building. It's inhuman to live a life free of fear. For all of the crimes Hamas has committed, we must always remember they're not Palestine. Should go first to the gas chambers. He seems like a really nice person, just generally a very nice person. I will, again, just repeat that no matter who you are, I hope that you don't die in a Holocaust. It seems like the baseline of basic human decency, but apparently not so much. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing. Now you're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into a company pulling out of California after pointing out that San Francisco has
Okay. He's getting into like the next stuff that I don't know anything about. So yeah, that's the whole shebang with him. It looks like he just got a strike. It looks like he's going to be back around Halloween time. So it looks like he's only able to not allowed to stream for maybe a couple of weeks or something. So he definitely has something planned for Halloween. It looks like from his thing. Here, let's check out his Ethan Klein's Twitter now and see if he said anything new since then. No, I'm not following him. Finally, a violin small enough for Ben to play. Ben Shapiro says, I don't believe that Ethan Klein should be suspended from YouTube for his awful garbage, but I'll shed no tears for a person who has routinely engaged in cancellation of others. World's smallest violin. I mean, now Ethan Klein is seeming to just get a little bit petty because Ben Shapiro's taking the high road again on that one. Like, we're not for cancellation. We're not for canceling people. So Ben Shapiro, Ethan just keeps leaving the door open for Ben to keep taking the high road and looking better than him. And it's not, for at least the rest of us, it's not cool. I'm like really agreeing with you right here, Yona. Ethan Klein is like he is a total shit lib for sure. I'm pretty sure he voted for Biden. So, you can be offended by my joke and not be a white supremacist. Obviously, I'm talking about a few usual suspects that pick these stories up, feign outrage, and activate their fans to mass report with the goal of punitive action. They and their fans don't care at all about what was said. But you've like won so many court cases and lawsuits and people trying, like you won, you keep winning. It's like now you just think you're invincible or something. This is an incredible tweet, Ben, considering one, I chose to remove Jordan from my channel. How is that canceling in any sense? And two, you try to make it seem like Jordan's prophetic comment came true, but was it conservatives that canceled me and feigned outrage, not my own fans? Now, please answer my questions. Why do you platform and enable known anti-Semites? And then those are where all of his stuff from last night is. So it looks like he's still on it about this whole thing. For sure on it. Still on that bullshit of that. So that's crazy. It's like conservatives and Democrats don't know how to make jokes at all. At all. It's wild. It's like, oh yeah, no. I don't know. I'm just gonna, as long as it's making fun of someone else, that's all that matters. So, okay. So the next one we got going is, here, wait, let's see what you guys got to say. PSA, NAFO equals QAnon for shit libs. Trust the PSYOP. Very nice. I've been hearing more and more about what this NAFO or hearing the words NAFO. So something about fellas something. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still learning about even what it is. Definitely out of the loop on that. I know what NATO is, not NAFO. Kanye song is hilarious. Poor Kanye. Yeah, if you can send it to me somewhere else. I can't grab the link from StreamYard. I'm sad. Makes me sad. Yeah, blue checked Ethan Klein. Yeah, exactly. And yes, his wife is Israeli. Yep. So I wonder if he's even against apartheid. He is against the apartheid just because he hangs out with Hassan Piker, and Hassan Piker is from I believe Turkey, I think. So but yeah, no, he's definitely knows that Israel is apartheid. Ethan Klein is one of those like shit lib left kind of people that still knows like the bad stuff that's happening in Israel. He just when he was younger, I guess he went on a mission thing. They can go to, if you're like a Jewish person or something, you can go to Israel to tour it or whatever, and that's where he met her. He moved her out to America, and then they started doing the show, and then that's pretty much the story of them. So yeah, I don't know. She doesn't really say very much. So his wife doesn't say too much at all, but she is Israeli. Absolutely is. Yeah. They can't meme it either. Okay. Yeah. Send it to my DM and then I'll pick it up from there. Yeah, that's good. That's the reason why Ben Shapiro doesn't like him, and like the conservative right doesn't like him, is because he's Jewish, but he also understands that there's an apartheid system and the Palestinians aren't being treated equally out there. He knows that and understands that. So at least that's good about him. Doesn't change the fact that he is still like, a Biden supporting Democrat. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hassan is a good influence on them. When I first found out that they did a show together, I thought that I started watching it because I figured it'd be really interesting to see, a Jewish person and a Muslim together on a show, especially with what's going on in Israel. And I'm pretty sure that that's what they thought too, is like, oh, this is a great idea for a show. So yeah, it just, Ethan Klein doesn't, on his own shows, doesn't know how to shut his fucking mouth. So he always does this. He always inserts foot in mouth and get himself in trouble, and shit like this happens. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure he's probably selling t-shirts like a motherfucker over this though. So Newsmax TV server ties with oh yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to talk about right now. Go start. Okay, that's sent to my Discord. Perfect. Yes, so that's what I'm about to talk about, or that's what I am going to talk about right now, is Newsmax TV severs ties with Laura Logan, as she says world leaders dine on the blood of children. So yeah, no, that's so funny that you're actually talking about that, because that is literally what I have already set up. See? Ooh, it's already ready to go. So yes, Newsmax bans Laura Logan after she goes full QAnon, spews blood libel on network. And this website is just fucking insane with ads. So nearly a year after she was kicked to the curb by Fox for essentially calling Dr. Anthony Fauci a Nazi, Laura Logan was on Newsmax primetime airwaves pushing QAnon tropes, invoking blood libel and fear-mongering about a global cabal planning to dilute the pool of patriots in the United States with 100 million illegal immigrants. Following the publication, Newsmax told Daily Beast they will not be bringing her back. They said that they condemn in the strongest terms the reprehensible statements made by Laura Logan, and her views do not reflect their network. They have no plans to interview her again. She's a one-time award-winning reporter for CBS News. She embraced baseless conspiracy theories in an apparent effort to remake herself as a far-right pundit. Her increasingly what they're calling unhinged rhetoric eventually resulted in Fox News distancing itself from her and her loss of her series on the network. So in recent weeks, Newsmax showcased the former 60 Minutes correspondent, featuring her prominently on X-Fox news host Eric Boyling's primetime program. He once again welcomed her as his lead guest on Wednesday to discuss New York City's handling of migrants who've been bussed from Texas and other red states. Logan, who once called migrants a virus bomb, immediately kicked off the segment by casually accusing the White House of importing immigrants in an effort to incite violence from the right. All right, let's watch it. You're going to give me an ad.
The nature of work is evolving.
They always do this. I should have just had it going first. They're going to give me ads. All right, here we go.
Extraordinaire, and more importantly, a good friend of mine as well, Laura Logan. Welcome, Laura. Laura, I mean, it's amazing what's going on right here in this city, New York City. These invaders, these illegals, that when Mayor Adams takes them in, they're building 10 cities. There's Xbox, there's entertainment for them, there's 3 square meals. If you're in Venezuela where inflation is going through the roof and you can barely feed your family, why not come here? It's a much better lifestyle for them.
Well, not only is it a better lifestyle for them, Eric, but basically you're creating a 2-tier system where people who come here illegally and break the law are absolved of any responsibility for that. And then they're subject to a different set of rules to every other American. And it's really interesting because, you know, we live in a moment where you can see all over the place that this administration is desperate to incite some kind of event, right? Incite people to act that will prove the lie of white terrorism and white supremacy in America today and give them an excuse to crash.
It's so funny or like wild to me how, you know, people being brutally murdered and their economy being taken advantage of and being ruined by America. So they come to America to get away from that, the crap that we're giving to them, and then they come here, and then white people like demonize them and say, oh well, this is just to take down the white man and to get rid of the white man. And like the superiority complex in these kinds of people is just absolutely astounding to me, and it's disgusting that they're even talking about this freely as if it's the truth and they believe it. Like, how is it just because of the color of your skin that you're born with automatically makes you a better person and not a savage? It's disgusting to me. Like, these are human lives. Look up the word Sonder. Everybody should look up the word Sonder. I swear, it's a beautiful word, and it really helps you open your mind about the importance of every life that's existing on the planet. But these people, man, they just, the supremacy mentality of white people is disgusting.
Down, right? They need to rise that fire. And when you see the way that they're flaunting, the separate set of rules for illegal immigrants, you have to wonder and at least ask the question if part of the motivation, or maybe just one of the benefits, is that they know that they're rubbing the face of the average American in it, especially at a moment in this country where
imagine that you're like, places like your country's being bombed, you can't get food, you can't get healthcare, you can't get anything to survive, and you go to a country like America and you're on the border, and the first thing you think of is, I'm gonna stick it to these Americans because I'm moving here. Like, come on. You really think that people are thinking that? Like, every one of those people that are in that video right there, in that background on that video, are thinking that while they're sitting there probably starving, cold, exhausted. They're like, I'm going to stick it to Americans. Like, you really think that that's how people think? Come the fuck on. Get a life.
Where people's mortgages are going through the roof, where food prices are going through the roof, where people are very soon going to start losing their homes, losing their jobs, and so on. And, when you look at that in terms of the bigger picture here, anyone who's trying to unite this country, anyone who's trying to strengthen the economy and save the economy, they're not doing what the Biden administration is doing. And all of this nonsense about, how you need illegal immigrants to come and do the jobs Americans are too lazy to do. You know what? I live in a town of illegal immigrants, and nobody wants to do that work. Okay, nobody, not even the people who are illegal a lot of the time. And so, all people are the same, really. That's what I'm trying to say. All people are the same. And when your own people are in the most dire economic circumstances that they've been in living memory, for you to be creating a second-tier system that, by the way, doesn't help the people who are illegal very much either. I mean, you may get a place rent-free in New York City, but if you don't get a job and you can't feed your kids and you're far away from home, and there's no future and so on and so on, these people's lives, while they may be easier in some respects than Americans, they're not great for them either, especially when you consider that they were brought here by cartels, right?
It's the first step. It's the first step of divide and conquer. It's the first step of getting citizenship and voting rights to these illegals. You piss off, you tick off the people who are picking up the tab for this in New York City, the place where Mayor Adams is giving these people, Xbox and meals and entertainment and beds in New York City.
Like, that's the least that they could fucking do, is give them some sort of distraction and entertainment and a bed and, somewhere to sleep and things like that, and some food for them to have. Like, this should be at least the bare minimum for these kinds of people that are coming in here. They're coming here for a better life. Why are we going to treat them even worse here than we are in their own country just so they can leave? Like, we ruined their country. Allow them to come here if they want to better their lives, because we fucking ruined their country. And give them a little bit of entertainment. So what if they want an Xbox? There's fucking children there. Children deserve to have some fun too. It's not like the kids just woke up and are like, oh, I'm going to run to America today. Like, the kids don't think that kind of stuff. It's wild.
You pay an 8.5% tax in New York State, another 4.5% just to live and work in New York City. You're paying 50% of your income to the government one way, shape, or form, and you're ticked off. Meanwhile, these people are coming in and freeloading. So you divide the population and then you conquer them. Then you get them to agree, you get your side to agree to give these people voting rights. And then you never, ever see a conservative holding public office again.
And there's your side. They're worried about immigrants coming or people coming in, migrating into America because Republicans will never win again. That's your fault for not wanting them to come in here. They're going to automatically hate you because of how you treat them. And what do you expect? Immigrants and migrants are going to come and move no matter what you do. It's happened throughout history. People have migrated since humankind started till now. Like, people still migrate. You're just screwing yourself. That's all. It's all politics to them. They just don't want to lose.
And you're 100% right, Eric. But you know what? It's even bigger than that, because I spoke to a man who was actually holding the documents in his hand. He told me about it, right? He said he infiltrated the global cabal at the UN level, right? And one of the things that he was able to tell me about from his own personal experience, what he witnessed himself, was these documents that show that there is a plan. And this was several years ago, right? The plan was to infiltrate 100 million illegal immigrants. And at that point, they were already at 40 million. And these people would dilute what they called the pool of patriots. Those were their words, right? And they would not be taught that America is a great country and trained to sing the national anthem.
Dilute the pool of patriots, and also being taught to hate America, not teaching them the national anthem and the flag and stuff. That's a fucking lie, because my husband is an immigrant, and to get into America, he had to memorize that stuff. So that's a requirement to be a U.S. citizen, is to memorize that stuff. So that's just a straight up fucking lie. But the whole thought process, or the thought process of diluting patriots. Oh my God. How can you fucking say that? You try to say get rid of the white man? It's so racist. It's the most, oh God, it's so gross.
Them with pride and so on and so on. They would be taught all the negative things that we're taught about the US today, that our own children are taught. And what would be the effect of diluting the pool of patriots? Well, it would be to break down this sense of pride in being American and what it means to be American. And why was that so important? Well, because part 2 of that plan is to go to these people and say, you know what? You got relatives in Guatemala and in Mexico and here or there. It's really hard for them still. You should be able to send money more easily. You should be able to visit them more easily. They should be able to travel here, move here more easily. And so why don't we have, guess what? A regional government, Canada, the US, and Mexico. And once you break down nationalism and you break down national sovereignty with a regional government like that, these are the steps to one world government. They're not stupid enough to tell you what.
Wait, but wasn't it Trump that wanted to do the whole like Canada, America, or North America and South America into like one giant country, kind of like a, like a NATO of types, but for us in the West. So this was like even a Trump type thing. So she's even going against her own people.
They really intend, just like Obama said. Remember this at the end of after the 2020 elections, when Obama said we should never have used the words defund the police. It wasn't because they don't want to defund the police. It was because telling people your intent when it's that extreme and radical and nobody wants it, right? Except the lunatics.
But see, it was the complete opposite of that. That's where she's a liar. She's just flat out lying right there. We ended up using the words defund the police, but it wasn't like we were wanting to completely defund the police. We were wanting to reallocate the money, like a lot of the extra money that the police departments are getting from states and governments, and giving it to healthcare workers and child care workers and children's services and mental health workers, people that can actually answer certain 911 calls that could benefit the people that are calling them instead of just sending police out who can't handle those situations, demilitarizing the police. We just ended up using the words defund because that's the one that just caught wind of everybody, but that wasn't exactly what we were wanting to do. We didn't want them to be taxed to where we would never have the access to that money. We would want them to reallocate it to us to different areas. So she's just got it ass backwards right there. Obviously, you could tell she didn't know anything about what was going on with any of that stuff, especially like defund the police and the Black Lives Matter and all of that.
Right out of the playbook. They're right out of the socialist playbook. You divide and conquer. You don't tell them your intent. You get people to come in. You got your useful idiots. Those of us who are paying for these people to have all these luxuries, and they lie about it. Yeah. How does it end?
Well, badly. It ends badly for some. Okay, so on a serious note, people of all faiths have said to me that this is a spiritual battle. I am a firm and solid and immovable believer in God. And I believe that God wins. I believe that good is greater than evil. And I believe that the fallen angel, otherwise known as Satan, doesn't get to prevail in this world. So if you follow the Bible, or if you follow the Quran, or you follow the Book of Mormon, people talk in various different ways about the end times. And if you fight for God, God will fight for you. But
I love how she just talks about the end times like it's just an inevitable thing. Like it's your own self-fulfilling prophecy. There's no such thing as these sky daddies and gods and different gods and stuff. You're literally just doing bad things to people all over the world so that this, pretend event is going to happen for you guys. Like your apocalypse, when you actually think that your clothes are going to be folded and you're going to rise up to heaven and live with Jesus while all of us suffer, like, bitch, no, you're going to die from a nuclear fallout, stupid cunt.
Final thought, Lara. Final thought, though. I have to ask you this because my audience is very God-fearing, God-loving, etc. Final thought. Only a couple of seconds, please. Is God okay with a closed border?
It's much bigger than that. God believes that in sovereignty and national identity and the sanctity of family and all the things that we've lived with from the beginning of time. And he knows that the open border is Satan's way of taking control of the world through all of these people who are his stooges and his servants. And they
swear to God, anytime they don't like one little thing about something, it's automatically the devil. The devil is doing it. It's like you can't even take accountability or let them, tell the people they need to take accountability for whatever thing you don't like. You got to blame it on the devil. Everything is the devil's fault.
They may think that they're going to become gods. That's what they tell us. Yuval Noah Harari and all the rest of them at the World Economic Forum. The ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children. Yeah. Those are the people.
There it is, while they dine on the blood of children. Jesus Christ. Gee, she really went there with it, with the whole adrenochrome bullshit. She just went there. Full on went there. And that's probably the comment right there that got her kicked off. So
right? They're not gonna win. They're not going to win.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, let's hope. So Lara,
and so that's her little thing that she did on this Newsmax thing. Now, I guess from what it looked like, Twitter kind of went off as well about the same goddamn thing. So they were saying that, here, let me read what this Twitter thing says. Let's see. Sherry says, because of where these jobs are, the migration that is often part of the job and the pay levels. Yeah, exactly. Beliefs, justify scorched earth policies. Yeah, exactly. And then blame it on the devil. The devil did it. The devil's doing it. Or if it's scorched earth on people they don't like, they're like, Jesus answers. God answers prayers. It's so gross. So here, this woman says Tucker Carlson went full Nazi after Tiffany Cross, a Black MSNBC host. Tucker Carlson directly invoked the blood libel thing in graphic terms. So this is Tucker Carlson going off about so I guess there's this lady of color that has a show on MSNBC, and so he's gonna sit there and say like that the white man is being brought down, and that MSNBC is allowing black people to pretty much bring down the white people and bring down the patriot thinking and stuff. So this one's pretty interesting and pretty funny to watch. So none of the farmers hauling migrant labor in their gooseneck trailers get in trouble. It's like busting the streetwalkers and letting the Johns and Pips go for free. Right. Yeah, I completely agree.
In many cases by Hutus whose rage had been stoked to violence by RTLM's broadcasts. Entire Tutsi families were dragged from their homes and hacked to death with machetes. Hundreds of thousands of women were raped. Sum total of their ethnicity. They're individuals, not ethnic groups. Bill Clinton gave an eloquent speech actually on the subject in Kilgalli back in 1998. Look it up and ask yourself as you read it, if any Democratic Party official could today say those same words. It's hard to imagine given what plays on a loop on that party's cable news arm, MSNBC. Have you watched MSNBC lately? Likely you haven't. Like the Tutsis, you're not the target audience, but you should tune in sometime. It's remarkable. Given that opposing racism is America's national religion, it may surprise you to learn that open race hate forms much of the substance of that channel's programming. And when we say race hate, we're not referring to the subtle coded variety. You want border security? You giving your kids piano lessons? You like Shakespeare? You believe in the SAT? You must be a racist. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of race hate you cannot mistake for anything else, the kind where people just come out and announce, I hate this race of people, and here's why I do. It's hard to believe that anything like that is happening right now on American television, but it is, out in the open. And the most amazing and the most creepy part of all is that no one is saying anything about it. It's all but ignored. And honestly, we have...
So when he's talking about the race hate, he's talking about how people of color are hating on the white race in this MSNBC clips that you're going to watch. So forewarned, this guy's ridiculous of what he's thinking.
I had no idea what was going on either until we started getting texts from people. Are you watching this? Can you believe this? So we tuned in. Apparently on the left, what you're about to see is considered completely normal, even good. And that should worry you deeply. You don't want to live in Rwanda. But on MSNBC, they're already there. Now, you probably knew about Joy Reid, the race lady, who's been fixated on race hate for years now. But MSNBC has a new host, someone called Tiffany Cross, who hosts a show called The Cross Connection. Here's a selection.
Many of us have seen the dangers when powerful white people decide they want something, they annex it. And they've never had a problem replacing the people who stand in their way.
We see American white people are going crazy. They're resorting to violence.
This is literally what conservative white folks do when they don't get their way. They turn violent.
White people deputizing themselves in some position of authority to have jurisdiction over their life when they need to mind their blanking business.
I don't think it's our responsibility to be tasked with destroying and dismantling the racial oppression that's against us. That's just saying we're more at fault than the white people who constructed this system and the white people who continue to practice institutional racism.
A majority of white people do not support policies that would unpack and unroll and reform this system of justice. This is what they want. Matt Gaetz is giving the white folks what they want.
White replacement can strangle culture. So yes, we should all be concerned about white replacement. It is, after all, a very threat to our survival here.
Is there anything worse than white people? They're violent. They're heartless.
Yes, right. So it's kind of like the same, the whole like how the Me Too movement with the women have to, or they think like, they know that not all men are dangerous, but when you're out walking the street, you have to continually think that because you don't know which one is going to be dangerous. And I'm sorry, but you got hundreds and hundreds of years of oppression on these people. How else are they going to think of you as? I'm white and I'm fucking tired of the white people and the way that we think and the supremacy of our mentalities. So yeah, if there's a woman of color that wants to go onto a news station and talk about how much we're fucking losing our shit, us oppress white people, because they finally have somewhere safe where they can feel like they can say this kind of stuff with their own mentality and history and experience of what their generations and their past has had to deal with. Yeah, absolutely. We need to shut up and listen to them, Tucker Carlson. Absolutely, we do. It's crazy to me how, like, they're all like, you know, as soon as somebody with color says something, they're like, oh, it's anti-white, it's anti-white. They're like, you know, reverse racism bullshit. But they can go around saying, like, you know, what just the video we watched right before that, you know, immigration is causing the white people to go away and to get rid of, you know, patriotism, which is super fucking racist, but they get to get away with that. It's the double standard and the hypocrisy of them, and the like the unknown. They don't even understand, like, the conscious, you know, they're not even conscious of the fact that they are doing this.
They're cruel, they're deranged, they're secretive, they're dishonest. In fact, as you just heard Tiffany Cross say, white people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones. They threaten your life. Are they poisoning the wells? Are they baking bread with the blood of your children?
Are they baking the bread with the blood of your children? There it is. Like, come on with that conspiracy crap. Like, that's insane. And then what did he say right before that too? What was it?
To you and your loved ones. They threaten your life.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
they poisoning the wells?
Poisoning the wells. Absolutely. Look at Flint, Michigan. Sorry, Flint still doesn't have water. So, you know, now more places don't have water. So, yeah, they are poisoning the well. They absolutely, white people are Tucker Carlson. It's crazy to me how he's just getting away with it. Oh, hi, Nikki. Good morning. Good to see you.
Are they baking bread with the blood of your children? If not, according to Tiffany Cross and MSNBC, they're fully capable of doing those things. They've certainly done worse. This is Hutu Radio. But it's not an independent radio station in an African country. It's part of one of the biggest news organizations in the world, part of the biggest telecommunications company in the United States, Comcast, which owns it. So you have to ask yourself, what does Comcast board think of this? Comcast board is mostly white people who, according to the channel they own, decided they wanted something, then they annexed it. White people who steal because they're white. White people who could, quote, turn to violence when they don't get their way. White people are going crazy, endangering their communities. So you have to ask yourself, why are they putting this on the air? Why are they allowing this? This is not a policy.
Like I just freaking said, it's kind of the same as like how women are in the, you know, in the Me Too movement, where we know it's not all men, but when we go out on the streets and we, you know, we walk down a sidewalk, you know, walking home or something, we don't know if that man is one of them or not. So we have to assume that it's all people just like them, like, you know, over this Comcast, whatever this show is that this woman has, like, she knows that her bosses above her are all white men. But the thing is like, she knows that those people are allowing her to say this and are giving her the freedom to say this, which is, you know, she's fully taking advantage of it. But it's still, you know, of course, all, like, the generalization of all white people are bad, because you don't know which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones. Because I'm sorry, but within the last few years, racism has reared its ugly head with people that you would have never even expected it to come out of. So absolutely, it's that same mentality of it has to be all of them, because we can't sit there and choose and pick which one, because we don't know. They don't know which ones of us are the bad ones and which ones are the good ones. And we hide it very, very, very well. White people don't even realize that we're racist when we say certain things, and we need that help. So yeah, if there's a group of colored people that want to sit there and teach us how to, you know, properly treat them, because we have racism embedded into our blood for hundreds and hundreds of years and generations, then absolutely we need to take a step back, get off of our high stool, and let these people fucking talk and let them say their piece, because they haven't been able to ever. It's crazy to me how they act like this, how Tucker Carlson and these conservatives act like that, when it's what I just said is not so hard to comprehend. It's common sense.
Debate. These are open attacks on people, on Americans, on the basis purely of their race. And that's just a selection. We could go on and on and on. Are they aware that this is happening? Perhaps they're not. We weren't, to be fair. But it is happening day after day after day after day. And at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, if it continues and nobody stops it, do they agree with it? Maybe they do. And just in case you think that we are taking Tiffany Cross out of context and pulling the worst quotes from a out of context segment to make her seem crazy and racist, here's more. Here's Tiffany Cross on MSNBC.
Look, a lot of folks in that Capitol insurrection, some of these folks were white women. And I know we're talking a lot about Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, but I do think that some of the white women who have adopted this ideology, is America ready to face the fact that some of those folks look like people they have elevated and put on a pedestal of being untouchable? What do you say about this wing of white women who have been radicalized and are enablers to this very dangerous domestic terrorism movement that we've seen increase quite rapidly?
So it's not just whites, it's white women. Their women are bad too. And women, of course, are the key to reproducing the...
But I mean, when she's talking about white women, isn't she talking about like the Karens? Because there's a lot of them out there. So I'm pretty sure what she meant was like by Karens, but he's taking it like all white women, you know. But yeah, no, you're right. I had to go Google what you meant by disambiguation, so for sure. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not trying to sound racist against white people. It's more like I'm a white person trying to get white people to to understand that these people of color are just trying to get their words out, and we need to listen to what they have to say and understand what they're saying. Like, you know, as a woman, you know, like what I was saying, like the Me Too thing, like as a woman, we know that it's not all men, because we know men that are really good and that are not going to do anything to us. But there's still, when you're walking out in the street in the middle of the night, or walking down a side, or you know, a walkway, or a whatever, you know, like down in the city in the middle of the night, or even in the middle of the day, you don't know if that guy that's right behind you is going to do anything. So you've got to be on your guard constantly. So that's where the whole like mentality of, we understand it's not all, you know, it's not all men, but we can't distinguish between whether or not this guy that's walking behind us in the moment is one of those or not. So we just automatically have to assume that they're all like that in the moment, because we don't want to put ourselves in danger. You know, we don't want to slip up once, to where we slip up one time and not pay attention, then that's going to be that one time that we're going to get fucked. You know, we're going to get kidnapped, we're going to get raped, we're going to get whatever. It's just that these, you know, with the people of color, it's a different, like the white people have always done this, you know, even when they got their votes back, they did poll taxes, they started imprisoning Black people even more, so that way they couldn't vote. So, you know, it's just like, no matter what kind of rights and benefits the people of color in this country get, there always ends up being like a white person to push them down even more to not be able to get it. So they probably know that there's some white people that are really good, but when it comes to the system itself, older white homeowners, property owners have always been the burden of the people of color in this country. So it's hard, yet it's not trying to like sound like racism against white people. I think it's more like, this is just how it is. Can you understand our perspective and figure out a way to change it? So, yeah.
White race, which is clearly a threat, as she says again and again, to you and your family. They're dangerous. They want to hurt you. Now, don't be fooled by the fact that Tiffany Cross can barely speak a coherent sentence. She was a communications major, apparently, according to the internet.
And absolutely, Yoda, too. I agree. I was talking about that yesterday when they were, when DeSantis wanted to arrest the people for voter fraud, even though they were allowed to. And I was saying, like, yesterday with that, it wasn't just people of color that were doing it. There were some poor people as well. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, you know, poor white people are definitely treated just as, you know, these days, just as bad as, you know, Black people when it comes to financial economy parts and stuff, that kind of stuff. But like when it comes to police violence, people of color definitely are treated way worse than, you know, some poor people. Because I mean, I was poor when I was I can't, it's my own anecdotal evidence, obviously, but even when I was poor, I was and arrested, I was treated very nicely going into jail. The cops were very kind to me, you know, telling me I didn't even belong in that kind of place. I looked like I didn't belong. So, you know, but they don't even get that chance of even going to jail. A lot of them just get murdered by police officers. So yeah, but yes, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I'm just, yeah, talking in absolutes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking in absolutes, like all, none, always, and never is a terrible way to speak and lose every argument. It is. I agree. It's just, it's really, it's kind of like I look at things like a pendulum. So like things have been swung one way for a really, really long time. It has been stuck there. And now things are like starting to, you know, the pendulum is starting to move, but because that pendulum has been there for so long that it's hitting that middle really hard. And so that other side of that pendulum has to kind of swing really, really, really hard the other way. And then it'll come back and things, you know, there'll be a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until things start to even out. And so that's where I kind of feel like a lot of things, like when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, when it comes to racism, or, you know, at least the Blacks and people of color and migrants starting to get their voices a little bit more, is like we're at that where the pendulum just hit that really hard and we're on the other end. And now there's got to be these back and forths until we find this even middle ground where everyone understands everyone. And that's where I kind of see things as. And I'm not trying to, like, you know, make it all seem like it's all in absolutes or anything. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to put my foot into other people's perspectives and try to understand where they're coming from without the, you know, without the whole like white people are being left out and they're being degraded upon. And so I try to understand everything in a empathetic way, and maybe that does bring absolutes into my head. Definitely willing to talk and discuss openly about it, especially with somebody like you who I completely respect. So, and would love to learn even more about it. This is just kind of where my mentality is from the things that I've been experiencing and learning from all of this. So, I mean, I would love to sit and chat. You know, like I said, I think of it like a pendulum. So us talking and having a discussion about it definitely brings that pendulum to an even ground, to where we can all really understand where everyone is coming from in every aspect of every situation in life. So yeah, let's continue watching.
But the gist of it is very, very clear. White women are dangerous because white people are dangerous. They are, by the nature of their DNA, potential domestic terrorists. Now, you could play the game, well, if any other group were spoken about this way, this would be shut down immediately. And of course, that's completely true. There's no other group in America you could talk about the way that Tiffany Cross and
that's kind of not true, because I'm pretty sure the way that we treated Muslims and the way that we treat Asian Americans is way, way bad. So he lied about that.
Joy Reid and other anchors in MSNBC talk about white people. But you don't even have to play that game. It doesn't matter what the color is. It's always wrong to reduce people to the color of their skin, to their melanin content, to their DNA. And it's even worse to attack them on the basis of that. And in fact, it's the basis of violence, actual violence, actual violence. But Tiffany Cross can't be criticized because she's oppressed. That's the key. Watch this.
What we didn't see were enough voices willing to point out the deeper, festering rot that's plagued this nation since it was born. People who neither discovered nor built this land have been led to believe that America is theirs and theirs alone. Will this democracy survive? Well, a Yahoo News poll says no. But perhaps when you build a nation on stolen land with stolen labor, it was never going to be a republic we could keep. And so here we are, celebrating the birth of a nation, independence for white men.
Okay, once again, calling out a specific race by name. Now, you have to wonder about the other anchors on MSNBC, some of whom are that race. Do they notice this? Do they know what's happening on their channel? Are they okay with this? What do you think happens if we continue to talk this way? You may not watch that channel, but some people do. What does this look like in a year or 5 years or 10 years? What kind of country do you live in? Well, a country at war with itself, race war. This woman, Tiffany Cross, whose clips you've been watching, is so deranged by a racialist worldview that she believes all people of one color are oppressed by all people of another color. And to prove it, she says, even NFL players, some of the richest people in our society, some of the most celebrated, the most famous, the most privileged, even they can't escape the all-pervasive hatred of diabolical whites. Watch this.
I gotta say, Mike, the optics just look bad. To see all these black men crashing into each other with a bunch of white owners, white coaches, and the complete disregard of black bodies and black life. I mean, it just represents a larger issue.
So, I mean, look, the average salary for an NFL player is more than $2 million a year. 60% of NFL players are African Americans. In some positions like cornerback, virtually all the first string players are black. So, okay, we don't have a problem with that. Most people don't have a problem with that. But if you look at that picture and say, this is white supremacy, what are you really saying? You're saying that anybody involved in the sport who is white defiles the sport because whiteness is itself inherently corrupting. White people are so evil that their mere presence in a sport that is overwhelmingly African-American and from which African-American individuals.
Yeah, that's what it's starting to seem like to me too, like a little bit of gaslighting from both sides. Cause like what that lady was just saying, like that seems a little far-fetched. Like I was just saying, it seems like it's that peak of the other side of the pendulum of like, okay, why are you thinking this? What is going on? You know, like, okay, I see like, you know, black players, white owner. Okay. I see the whole white owner, blah, blah, blah. But yes, Tucker is right on this part. These professional NFL players are making so much fucking money that I'm pretty sure that they're willing to get a few concussions to be able to make this kind of money. So yeah, no, I'm totally understanding what you're saying on this. Yes, the pendulum analogy. So that's exactly where I'm seeing it is that right there for sure.
Are benefiting is enough to destroy the whole operation because there are whites involved. What kind of talk is that? Well, it's genocidal talk, actually.
There you go. That's that one. I didn't realize it was almost the end right there. Yeah, so that's what they're talking about with this lady that got kicked off is because she was crazy, saying some crazy stuff. But then, like, they were saying that he was saying
more than 500,000
stuff,
Tutsis were murdered.
even though I think he only said like the bake the bread with the blood of the children one time. The rest of this was actually really, really good piece. And I'm glad that you're in here talking with me, Yona, about this because it's very important. Like we all, a lot of us, we all need to just come together and try to, mesh our brains together and debate it out and talk it out and figure out where this, even middle pendulum ground goes onto, because there's always going to be these wars that, like you were saying, the rich want, that we're putting on ourselves while the rich are up there living their happy little lives, like Sherry was saying this morning, hiding their money and not even living like their life the way that they live. The rich live their lives is completely different than how we live our lives. And so we're just turning things into arguments and fights while they're up there just living the good life, buying the next private jet. So yeah, it's crazy. And then, of course, these blue check people on here are going to sit there and talk about how racist and crazy Tucker Carlson is without actually understanding the whole situation. So yeah, it's wild to me. Many times Yona asked, don't you hate the white man? No, Yona has love for all humanity, regardless of skin tones. Yeah. And that's how I have to remind myself too. Cause I get so one-sided sometimes. Like I feel so deeply and so strongly for communities of color that I feel so deeply for them to where, yeah, you're right. Like sometimes I'm just like, I can't stand the white man. Like the white man drives me fucking crazy. And you're right. Like I shouldn't have to. I should love all of humanity for what it is. Like I said, it's just so hard sometimes when you get into the thralls of hearing the suffering and the historical suffering of people of color, and the fact that it's never taught to the white people, and the white people just keep living their lives not understanding and not knowing. And it's just, as a white person, when you start to learn this kind of stuff, you're like, oh my God, you white people, how can you not understand these things? But then you're right. We, unfettered, unconditional love means that you love humanity no matter what, even through the goods and the bad. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for that learning lesson today, Yoda. And I can't wait to clip this up and put it out. I can't wait for other people to get to see this short clip of this and maybe learn a little bit too themselves. So this was really, really a good conversation. Thank you. I was expecting to have fun on Friday too, and this ended up just being super informational and informative, and a good learning lesson. So it is the white elites and the black elites and the red elites that all high-five each other as they gaslight us and impoverish our communities, blaming others. Yeah, I agree. Because yeah, I'm even recently realizing, like in California, there's this new proposition about wanting to legalize gambling on cell phones, and allowing children to be able to download this app. And so there's like a bunch of indigenous communities even around here that are like, don't vote for this proposition because this isn't anything that's going to benefit our community here. It's just a couple of really, really rich Native American casino owners that want to make even more profit for themselves and not actually help the suffering indigenous communities that are here. So, you're right. It's even in every other video too. So, oh yes, okay, all right. We'll do the we can do the Kanye video. Okay, you said you sent it to my DMs. Did you send it in? Nope. In Twitter? Oh, no, Discord. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Discord. That's right. There it is. All right. Oh, it's on Rumble. Nice. Hold on. I gotta get it highlighted. Copy. Okay. Let me get it pasted and go to there, and then we'll share screen. Inner Jury Communities. Cockfighting Remix. All right. It's a lot of ads. It's got Kanye on here. Whoop-de-whoop. Featuring Kanye Yeezus West. Complete imbecile. All right. Let's do this. Okay, not doing any music videos to YouTube anymore. Are they getting you for it? I bet they are. So you're just doing BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. Okay. I want to start streaming to Odyssey, but I heard you have to like pay them money just to upload videos. And I'm like, I'm poor, boy. 2 strikes in 1 week. Good googly schmoogly. All right, remind me to pause about every 10 seconds or so. Holy shit, I'm scared. They're gonna shut us down. Let's do it. I can skip this ad in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was. A guy. I just told you. That's who I think I am. I had plastic surgery because I was trying to look good for y'all. I got liposuction because I didn't want y'all to call me fat. About slavery for 400 years. For 400 years? That sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? Fuck. Everybody's trying to charge. I don't give a how much you sold. If you playing on radio, are you connecting? Picasso is dead. Steve Jobs is dead. Walt Disney is dead. Name somebody living that you can name in the same breath. Tell me about being likable. We got 100 years here.
And cockfight, and cockfight, and cockfight, and cockfight, cockfight. I'll talk to him if I see him. Yep. But I guarantee he see me. And I have visions that God gives me just over and over on community building and how to build these free energy, kinetic, fully kinetic energy communities where we impress, we put the least impression on the earth. We're not building the new New York skyline cockfight, that we are humble in the way that we present ourselves. We've got to rethink who we are as a species. And I have visions that God gives me. And I have visions that God gives me. I'll talk to him if I see him. But I guarantee he see me. And
oh my God, I remember when that happened, his head hit that sign and he got so mad at people because they saw it. He's fucking wild.
Visions that God gives me just over and over on community building and how to build these free energy, kinetic, fully kinetic energy communities where we impress, we put the least impression on the earth. We're not building the new New York skyline cockfight, we are humble in the way that we present ourselves. We've got to rethink who we are as a species. And I have visions that God gives me. And cockfight, and cockfight, and cockfight, and cockfight, and cockfight. I have visions that God gives me.
I'm drinking a little bit, but even if I wasn't drinking, I would have told you the same thing. What do it take to be number one? You are in the presence of a champion, bow in the presence of greatness, family. Understand what I'm saying? It's 960. The people came out. The people have chosen. People came out and bought the album. They love the album. I can't walk down the street. Yay, we love the album. I say, man, I know it's great, isn't
Jeez, that is good. That motherfucker be wilding out. Holy shit. That is the greatest Kanye compilation I think I've ever fucking seen. I'm sending this to Nikki so she can play it on her page. Oh, that is really, really good. I love that. I'm going to send it to Warren too. Warren, you've got to play this on your show tonight. Yeah, he is. He's absolutely nuts. Oh God. I was watching him this morning on, I think he has his own like podcast on YouTube now, which is wild. But he was off and running this morning on there. They were even mentioning something about him running for president in 2024. So maybe keep your eye out. It looks like he might be actually like running for president. So I don't know. We'll see. Crazy. Secret shows a Kanye free zone. But that was so good. We could see the craziness of Kanye. All right. Whatever. That was fun. let's see, what else do I have here? It looks like, okay, what do I got? Like a little over an hour. Sounds good. So, it looks like the bromance between Saudi Arabia and America is slowly coming to an end, which is insane and hilarious and crazy at the same time. So, this is what happened. Like, this is kind of like their start of their like little tit for tat that they're doing. We say flee to the ye. Oh, that's great. That's absolutely great. All right, so in here, like I said, the bromance between America and Saudi Arabia looks like it's starting to end. These are like their little tit for tats that have been going on this week ever since the OPEC cut. So Mohammed bin Salman's cousin, Mohammed bin Salman is the leader of Saudi Arabia. His cousin made a threat to us in the West, so that he warns those who challenge Saudi Arabia and that they're all products of jihad and martyrdom. Jihad is, the ending of somebody who doesn't believe what they believe. So after Biden said that there would be consequences for an OPEC cut. So it looks like it's just tit for tat. America's saying there's going to be consequences. Saudi Arabia is saying there's going to be consequences to America. They're going to go back and forth. We don't know what's actually going to happen. Saudi Arabia could eventually just say, fuck you, America. We're going to work with Russia now. So, you never know. So the crown prince's cousin issued a violent threat against those who challenged Saudi Arabia. Your fucking ads, dude. Your guys' ads is ridiculous. Who challenged Saudi Arabia after President Biden warned there would be consequences for OPEC cutting all oil production just weeks before the midterm. So obviously this is very political. It's Trump. They're all the same. It's Biden not wanting to lose control over the House and Senate. And so he's doing this kind of stuff like, threatening Saudi Arabia and pulling oil reserves here in America just until long enough to for the midterms to be over, so that way that his people can win. Because with the gas prices going up, it seems like people are just starting to blame it on Biden and not wanting to vote for Democrats. So this is kind of like their political scheme that they're coming up with, strategy to keep them in power. A lot of those more like the empty promises, like, oh, I'm going to codify Roe v. Wade if you vote us into law, which we already knew was going to happen. They were going to say that just so that they could keep winning. This is all politics, of who can win and how we can get ourselves to win. So, yeah, barbaric. Wait, what? What's a driver's license look like? Because Saudi Arabian women would like to know, right? Public beheadings, what a barbaric terrorist state the kingdom is. Yeah, it's disgusting over there. But we're friends with them. America's friends with them, and we want to sit there and say we're going to give them consequences for cutting oil, but we're going to allow beheadings of the LGBTQ plus community and women and that kind of stuff. We're going to allow that. But when it comes to our oil, oh, no, you can't mess with that. So his cousin said in a video, anybody who challenges the existence of this kingdom, we are all projects of jihad and martyrdom. Anybody that thinks they can threaten us. His threat comes at a time of sky-high tensions because of the oil cut by OPEC by 2 million barrels per day. And the Biden administration accused Saudi kingdom of aligning itself with Russia and Putin. Of course, anti-Russia rhetoric again. Biden in turn said he would reassess the U.S.'s alliance with Saudis as the move was sure to jack up gas prices ahead of the midterm election. See, there we go. It's all politics. A gallon of gas is now averaging $3.88 in the U.S. I would like to know where the fuck that is so I can move there, because I have not seen gas prices at $3.88 since probably 2010, 2011. So it's been about a decade since I've seen here in California those prices. Biden claimed that Rydia would face consequences as aides announced in the U.S. or announced the U.S. would be reevaluating its relationship with the Saudis. There's going to be some consequences for what they've done with Russia. Obviously, it has to do with Russia, but they can sit there and treat their women the way they want to and treat their LGBTQ plus the way they want to, but they can't mess with Russia and they can't mess with our oil. They can't be. It's such a petty crap that this is. I wonder. Oh no, it's just a picture. Oh, here's the video.
Hey there, homeowner. How would you like to get a
Of course, there's going to be an advertisement. I don't care. If it's just going to add me or just going to give ads, then we ain't playing this game. I'm not going to get into what I consider and what I have in mind, he said, but there will be consequences. The kingdom hit back with a bombshell statement that the Biden administration has requested to delay the OPEC production cut until after the midterm. So Biden asked them to stop the cut until after the midterm so that gas prices won't go up until after they've already won. And then they're going to be like, oh, we can't do anything because Cinema and Mansion won't let us. Yeah, this is the ball game that they're playing right now. It's just literally right in front of our faces and we're pretending like we can't see it. So yeah, now Saudis are interested in BRICS. Empty rhetoric. Saudis already sell oil to China and Chinese yuan. Petrodollar is it's pretty much dying, especially with like the new trillions of dollars in gold that the Chinese found in Africa. Like they're ready to pump that shit up. So the country that benefits the most from its 2 million barrel cut is Russia. Oh well. White House National spokesman John Kirby said in a call, the cut allows Putin to continue to fund his war-making machine, and it certainly gave him, Mr. Putin, a sense of comfort here. Probably because Putin has been treating Saudi Arabia a lot better than America has. Maybe to a point, or they're just tired of it. I don't know. It could be anything. The Saudi foreign minister said such an accusation is intended to distort the facts and claim Saudi Arabia has taken a principled position with respect to the Russian-Ukraine war. Biden himself had a controversial meeting with the Crown Prince, beginning fist bumps rather than a handshake in July to talk energy productions. And that was around the time that Biden asked the Prince to not do something or to do something about something. And then the Prince was like, well, what about, Khashoggi? What you guys, you didn't do anything about that. So, it just seems like more and more that the Saudi Arabian kingdom is starting to fight back against the bullyism of America and how they're trying to control their country, because they know that we're becoming toothless. America's just, a old gummed up bully. So the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would first like to express this total rejection of these statements that are not based on facts and which are based on portraying the OPEC decision out of its purely economic context. The foreign minister said that Saudi Arabia supports UN resolutions regarding the war and rejects any infringement on the sovereignty of countries over their territories. The foreign minister also implied the Biden administration had begged them to at least wait until after the midterms to cut the productions. Right. See right here it is. So the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would also like to clarify that based on its beliefs of the important dialogue and exchange of views with its allies and partners outside of the OPEC group regarding the situation in the oil markets, the government of the kingdom clarified through its continuous consultation with the U.S. administration that all economic analysis indicate that postponing the OPEC decision for a month, according to what has been suggested, would have negative effects or negative economic consequences on their own country. So they're saying that it would have they can't do that because it would have negative consequences on their own country. So they're not going to listen to America's bullying and telling them what to do. So there's that right there that we just read. So, but Kirby said Washington presented Rydia with analysis showing that there was no market basis for production cuts and that they could easily wait until the next OPEC meeting to see how things developed. They just want to win office. They're just trying to win. Oh God, they're doing so much janky shit. I can't stand Saudi Arabia at all, but I really hope they see through this shit. Other OPEC nations communicated to us privately that they felt coerced to support the Saudi decisions. Here's kind of like where the Daily Mail, like the last paragraph right here, is where they're kind of like getting into let's you know, promote and help out America because and make it seem like, you know, Saudi Arabia is the big bully in this, because they always got to make everybody else the bad guy and we're the superhero because we're the superhero country, you know? So, yep, I agree. But Saudi Arabia is a barbaric monarchy that funds and arms terrorists worldwide, for real, the absolute worst of the worst. Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. You know, those are, you know, wait, you know, those arms that didn't make it to Ukraine, they made it to ISIS and Al Qaeda. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Isn't America asking for the help of Al Qaeda over in Ukraine right now, though? So that's kind of weird, too. Civilians hit by HIMARS, 3 killed, children injured. Jesus. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has hardly any redeeming qualities, period. Exactly. I agree. See what this is going to totally be. Another ad. Watch. I knew it. I knew it. I just knew it. Just give me the 3 seconds and go away. There we go. Let's see what this says.
And when it comes to OPEC, we've made clear our views to OPEC members. We have a multiplicity of interests with regard to Saudi Arabia, and I think the president laid those out during his trip, and they include everything from regional relationships, including improving relations between Arab countries and Israel, Yemen, where we're working very closely with Saudi Arabia to try to continue the truce, and a number of other issues, and those were all reflected in the visit. But we are working every single day to make sure, to the best of our ability, that again, energy supply from wherever is actually meeting demand in order to ensure that energy is on the market and that prices are kept low.
Yeah, the prices are going to be kept low. Yeah, we're going to make sure of it because we're going into our own reserves. That's why they're literally just trying. Like I said, I'm just repeating myself now. They're just trying to win. That's all they want to do. I swear, my nose gets good and then it goes bad again. So that's that one. I got one more for us. Bye, Yoda. Good to see you. I will see you at your show later on tonight. Have a good day and be safe. My mom kicked in. Be safe. I'm such a weirdo. Oh yeah, okay. So I wanted to Les Bones wanted me to show this video really quick. It's definitely a creepypasta. I've heard this before. I mean, I've watched this one before.
What killed your feelings for some?
But I think this guy starts it off as like, it sounds like a real story, like a real answer to this question, but then it definitely turns into a creepypasta. But what was really funny about it is that when he showed it to me this morning, I was like, my kid does this, just not in like, a creepy way. So here's the video. And so what this girl's going to be asking, Jesus. So what killed your feelings for someone that you were once madly in love with? And here is this guy's creepypasta.
What killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with?
So one time I met this girl and she was amazing. And I fell in love with her almost immediately when I met her. But we knew each other for about a month and then we decided to start dating. And about a week into our relationship, I asked her, I was like, hey, why don't you ever want to spend the night here? Or why don't you ever want me to go to your place and spend the night there? And she was like, I don't really want to because I talk in my sleep. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's not that bad. She was like, yeah, but when I do talk in my sleep, I say really scary and disturbing things. And I was like, I mean, how bad could it be? So I eventually convinced her to spend the night. And she was like, okay, if I do start talking in my sleep, don't wake me up because it scares me a lot and I get really disoriented and I don't like it. So I was like, okay, I won't wake you up. She was like, if it gets to be too much for you, just go and sleep on the couch and I won't be mad. So I was like, okay. So that night, it was maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. She was asleep. I was still laying in bed awake. I think I was anticipating something to happen, and I was trying to figure out what she meant by all this. And I noticed the bed was moving around a little bit. So I flipped over to go check on her, and she was sat fully up and staring right at me. So I stared back at her, didn't say anything. And eventually she said something, and it was in like a lower, raspier version of her voice. And she said, I'm going to eat the skin off your bones. So I just stared at her. I didn't say anything. And eventually she laid back down. And about a minute later, while she was still laying down, she said, if you don't sleep on the couch, you'll be dead by morning. So I was like, okay, I don't know if I can be in this room anymore. So I got up and I went into the living room and I sat on the couch and I could hear her through the wall. She was like laughing and saying, come back to bed, come back. Or do you want me to come to you? Come back. And I didn't know what I was going to do if she like walked out into the living room. I didn't know if I was just going to leave the apartment completely or like try to wake her up. But we talked about it in the morning, and eventually we just started talking less and less. And now we just don't talk to each other anymore. So, yeah.
What killed your feelings for someone you were once about?
So that's the little story thing that Lesbos sent to me this morning, so I could show you guys. It's definitely I don't think that that's a real story. It sounds more like a creepypasta, but I mean you never really know because people that talk in their sleep could pretty much say anything. They literally can say anything. You never know what they're gonna say. And what's cool about that is like I was telling him this morning, like that's what my kid does. So my 14-year-old, she's talked in her sleep pretty much her whole life, as long as I can remember. She talks in her sleep. My oldest one does a little bit of walking and talking in her sleep. I don't have that problem, so I don't know where the fuck my kids got it from. But I remember when my little one was really little, probably around 6 or 7 years old. There was one time I remember when she was sleeping, I went in there just to make sure, she was okay and she was still sleeping, and like some of her toys were picked up for the morning. And she must have heard me wrestling around in her room and cleaning things up, because she like sat up, looked right at me with her eyes straight open and was like, treat right the golden monkey. And I'm like, where's the golden monkey and how do I treat it? I don't know what to do with this information. So my kids have always said some weird stuff. And a lot of it I can't even remember, because it's usually in the middle of the night and I'm like half asleep and I'm like, I got to remember they said that the next morning. And then I completely forget. You know how that goes. You're like, I got to remember that for tomorrow. And then you forget. So that's the only one that I remember my kids saying was treat right the golden monkey, and it didn't make any sense. And I'm like, where's this golden monkey and where do I find it? And then, like, what do you mean by treating it right? Oh, it was just so funny. And so I just like, like put her back down. I was like, baby, you're sleeping, you're sleep talking. I always remind her, you're sleep talking. Just go ahead and lay back down, and she'll what? I'm not sleep talking. And then just lay back down and go back to sleep. And like 2 seconds later, she'll be snoring again. So my kid definitely talks in her sleep. And it's something that I am worried about as a mom, with her, obviously going to be growing up and, getting into relationships in the future and stuff. So something that I've definitely made her aware of. That way she knows, because she's been staying the night at friend's house a lot more. She's just becoming a teenager. So eventually this stuff is going to get out into the public and people are going to understand that she talks in her sleep a lot. So definitely one of the fears that I have as a parent, but something I kind of got to live with and teach her to, at least be open about it and be okay with it, so that other people know. So that way they're kind of not thrown off guard. That way she's not scared awake. Kind of like that girl, like Sam does not like to be scared awake at all. Like, wake up, you're saying stuff. Like, she doesn't like that. So it's very interesting to see that video. And then when I watched that video myself a long time ago, I'm like, holy shit, this is what my kid does. And then Les Bone sent it to me this morning. And I was like, oh shit, it's that video. But it ends up being a creepypasta. Not sure, it's probably a real story. Some creepypastas are, some are just kind of like fake made up scary stories for you. So I thought that was a really interesting one. So thank you, Les Bones, for that. And then we've got one more video before the day is over, and then I've got my night job to do with Warren later. So this is the 10 creepiest things that were caught on dash cams. So welcome back to another episode of October Fun Stuff on What. This video we're going to look at is crazy things caught on dash cams. Woo woo. All right, here we go. Oh shit, I forgot I was supposed to like fast forward it to the part. There we go. Oh, no, wait, that's a music video. Okay.
Of Sydney, Australia, when he encountered a parked truck. A hooded man then approaches the car, and the driver slows down. As the car passes the hooded man, he screams into the window, and the driver speeds away in total fear. The Newcastle Herald reports that the driver's wife, who was driving about a minute behind, was also accosted by the hooded man. The anonymous woman told the paper, quote, "I almost stopped before I could go around this guy. And as we went past, he just lunged at our door." The police were called and found the man sleeping inside the truck. He was charged with possession of crystal methamphetamine. Number 9, trees falling. Apparently everything wants to get you in Australia, even the trees. This dashcam footage was captured on December 29th, 2014 in Victoria, Australia.
Seriously, though, really quick, that almost looks exactly like my mountain area where I live as well. Like trees falling over is probably one of my newest fears that I've gotten ever since I'm moving up to this area is falling trees. That shit's terrifying. My neighbor across the street had a tree fall on his house. It was lost half of it. It was wild.
Suffering a windstorm, resulting in some debris striking the windshield as the car drove down the country road. That is, until an entire tree collapses on the road directly in front of the car, quickly followed by several others. This is a terrifying video showcasing the merciless.
That's another terrifying thing too. Like these tall ass trees like this, when you're in the mountains and you're actually living in it, you never realize how scary these big trees are until you're in it. And when the wind comes in, you see like all the trees that are surrounding your house, they're all like swaying with the wind, all of them. You know that there's roots holding them down, but Jesus, some of them are just like swaying with it, and it's so terrifying. Yeah, right. Ghost trees. Yeah, it's strong winds, man. And once one of the roots, because all of these trees are so close together that a lot of their roots are connected and tied in with each other, kind of like a web underground. And so once one falls, a lot of them kind of go with it because their roots come up and the ground comes up with it. So yeah, exactly. Everything is haunted this month.
And unpredictable nature of, well, nature. If the car had been traveling just a little bit faster, or if they had started their drive just a little bit sooner, they would have been squashed by a falling tree. Number 8, giant spider. Many people hate spiders, so just imagine a giant one sneaking up behind you. Actually, don't bother. This footage shows you exactly what that would look like. After a Texas police officer returns to his patrol car following a routine traffic stop, a giant spider can be seen scurrying on the road behind him. Luckily, the footage is a little deceptive. It wasn't a giant mutant spider sneaking up on the unknowing police officer, but a regular spider crawling across his windshield, creating an optical illusion. Giant mutant spiders would certainly be scarier, but
that is like the coolest.
Welcome to watch.
Oh my god, of course I did that. Of course that would be like one of the coolest mistakes to ever fucking happen right there. Like that's so cool. What a crazy cool little accident, and what great content.
Spider from outer space.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 7, Taiwan rock slide.
So
If
this
the-
one is crazy because I've seen this before a long time ago. What they don't show you right here is like probably about a minute before when he was a little bit further back. Right here on the top of the mountain, there was a rock up there and you can see it fall. So during this whole time that he's driving all the way around here, just know the fact that that rock that was right up here at this tippy top area right up there was falling all the way down that mountain, this whole drive that this guy was doing.
The video of the toppling tree didn't startle you, then this one surely will. While driving along a road in Taiwan, a horrifying moment was captured in which a falling boulder nearly crushed a car and its occupant. Just as the cars are driving under a mountain, a boulder explodes
Look at the size of that fucking thing compared to the car. That's why you were able to see this thing on the top of that mountain, is because of how giant it was. And just that whole drive that that person did from before where the video, right before where the video started, you'll see that rock fall, and their whole drive, this thing was just tumbling down the mountain. And it just so happens that he just so happened to be right behind where that rock hit from the top of the mountain. And it got so close, like look at it, it's like teetering, about ready to roll over on this white car. It's huge ass fucking Jesus Christ thing. Oh snap, Joe, Morph, Zelensky, and Bernie spewing Russia. Oh, Ghost Start, can you send that to me in Twitter? I can't highlight links on StreamYard, so yeah, I want to see that. That's cool.
hillside above. The heavy dirt showers onto the white car in front of the driver and knocks it off course. When the debris clears, an almost 300-ton boulder can be seen teetering right next to the car, having missed it by mere inches. Turns out, massive rocks, steep hills, and rain do not mix. This is like something from a disaster film, and it makes for terrifying viewing. Number 6. Lightning. On June 11, 2014, an Australian man named Mitch Baker was driving his car through an evening thunderstorm. The dashcam footage begins with Baker pulled over, his headlights illuminating the grass before him. Immediately after he begins driving, a bolt of lightning strikes his car in a brilliant flash of light.
That's scary.
Accompanying the flash is a creepy and somewhat empty metallic sound, like something was slapped onto the car's hood. Luckily, both Baker and his vehicle were okay, the only damage being a warped brake disc. Despite walking away from the ordeal, Baker
a
was
warped brake disc, which means that thing slapped right into his tire. That's wild.
likely left shaken and feeling quite lucky. Number 5. Family escapes storm. The rising winds, dark skies, and mounting fear in this clip give us shivers every time.
I don't care if your light is green or not. I'm getting out of here. Go this way, away from the storm.
In August 2020, Brooke Porter drove into Grimes, Iowa with her children, only to find herself in the middle of an insane windstorm.
We are legit in the middle. Yeah. What's wrong? Okay, we gotta get out of here.
Realizing that the storm is all around them and thinking fast, she makes for a nearby store. Once in the parking lot, she tells the kids to just run and hustles them out of the car.
Just run.
Like, I'm sorry, but if the wind was that bad and it was getting really brutal, I would not be parking in a parking spot. Like, pull my ass right up there under the awning, and that way we've got a short distance to walk. The car is either going to get blown away or it's going to be fine. I'm not good civilian. Like, come on, it's a fucking storm. Just park somewhere and go. Like my husband calls it, Jeep parking.
But in the crazy winds, the last kid tumbles down and has to be helped up by his mother. Fortunately, they did all make it to safety. Whew, we are out of breath just watching this again. Number 4, ghost car.
This mysterious driver tricks cops into thinking
This one is a goodie but oldie, or oldie but goodie. If you remember like a lot of the older stories of like ghost stuff, you'll remember this story. So yes, Ghost Start, I just got it. I'll do it after this video, definitely, and then I'll get off of here. So we'll watch that. we got to always show off Joe's new work, because his work is always just on point and really, really good. So definitely going to check it out. So this one's really cool. A lot of people know about this one. This one's very well known.
About to pull over, then all hell breaks loose.
We all know about ghosts. Some of us may swear to have seen one. But what about ghost cars? If dashcam footage is anything to go by, this is not a rare phenomenon. In Russia, someone captured a car that seemingly comes out of nowhere in the middle of a busy intersection. But perhaps the most famous footage of a ghost car comes from this police dashcam footage. During a chase, the driver spins his vehicle around, drives past the police car, and then seemingly vanishes into thin air.
For a moment, it appears as if the driver and his car had disappeared into thin air.
The police catch up to him, but then the car seemingly drives through a metal fence, successfully evading the police. They can only watch in amazement as the red taillights fade into the darkness.
Even watching it again, cops are unable to make sense of it. All they see is an intact fence and nothing more than the vanishing taillights of what the Garden City PD has come to call the ghost car.
Number 3.
Right.
Creepy.
And that one is so cool to watch it, because they even did a video about it, like the afterwards, and they showed like this was just a solid fence, just all the way up, all the way down was just a solid fence. And in here, I mean, you can even see like this guy's headlights were like on the other side of this fence, you know? Like, how did it just go through this fence with no problems whatsoever? See, like there it is. There's like a pole for one of the fences, and then you just go a little bit further in and there's that pole with the fence, like, and the car was through it. So definitely cool ghost car. Thought that was really, it's definitely goodie and oldie but goodie. So yeah.
Creepy roadblock. While driving the New Jersey Turnpike late at night, a man named Ivan Tuktin encountered a creepy sight. In front of him were 2 traffic cones, a black car, and a man wearing jeans. The dashcam clearly shows the cones and car, and all that is seen of the man are his blue jeans walking towards Tuktin's vehicle.
What's going on? Can I help you with something?
Feeling suitably creeped out, Tuktin weaved between the traffic cones and sped away. It's certainly creepy, but the police believe it to have a relatively harmless explanation. After investigating the scene and arresting 2 men, the police learned that their car had run out of gas on the highway, and that the man had put down traffic cones in a misguided attempt to get help.
Because of his quick thinking, Tuktin considers himself very lucky.
It's scary to think that's the world we live in today.
Number 2,
a little
clown.
bit of, I feel like there was a little bit of racism right there, but anyway.
2016 was a weird year. For some bizarre reason, people began dressing up as clowns and terrorizing innocent people.
Oh shit! He's running after us! Hit that bitch! Hit that!
As you can imagine, various clown sightings were captured on dashcams. In October 2016, 2 creepy clowns were spotted by a police car standing by the side of the road.
Guys, make sure to keep your hands where we can see them, all right?
An even creepier sighting occurred over in Yorkshire, England. While driving down a dark road, a family spotted a clown walking in front of their car. The clown then waved at the car before running towards it. This has to be one of the spookiest pranks in some time, but also one of the most dangerous, as evidenced by the Yorkshire clown almost being run over.
Before we
God,
continue,
that was
be sure
like such a crazy time. I don't know if any of you like remember a lot of those clown things, but that shit was wild to me that when that happened, just with like all those people dressing up like clowns and scaring people. I think it was right around the time that the new version of It came out, and people were like everywhere dressing up like clowns and scaring people and stuff. That was around the time where I went from being scared of clowns my whole life to being like, okay, this is kind of dumb. I'm not scared of clowns anymore because y'all are being stupid, trying to hurt themselves and get themselves killed and shit. So yeah, exactly. There you go. See, these people are asking to be run down. A lot of people have irrational fears of clowns. Absolutely. These people were like you said, asking for it. Yeah, all right, this one, the last one, number 1, it's a bunch of different videos. It's the meteor that came in and hit in the air, hit Russia, and what happened. So I gotta pee so bad, so I'm gonna let you guys watch this while I run to the bathroom.
The Chelyabinsk meteor.
The images look like something out of a movie, a tiny asteroid tearing through space at a speed of 33,000 miles per hour before streaking across southern Russia.
Perhaps the creepiest and most popular thing ever captured on dashcam is the Chelyabinsk meteor. This meteor traveled and exploded over the Chelyabinsk Oblast of Russia on the morning of February 15th, 2013. The meteor was captured by dozens of dashcams around the area, most of which displayed the same thing: a bright streak of light blazing through the sky before exploding in a concussive flash.
And then all hell broke loose. Dizzying explosions shattering windows, knocking these office workers to the ground.
In some cases, the meteor even lights up the surrounding area, briefly turning dusk into day. While it looks like something out of Armageddon, the damage was relatively limited, with 1,500 injuries and 0 deaths reported. It could have been a lot worse, considering the meteor was up to 33 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb.
Scientists say the meteor shower was not related to an asteroid that will fly dangerously close to Earth today, but one estimate suggested this meteor was big, perhaps tens of tons.
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey,
I agree. I agree with your picks. They're cool. Woo, why did it do that? Okay. No, those are fun. Yeah. Oh, his thing is only 19 seconds long. Aw. I wish it was longer. Joe's got some fun stuff. All right. So it says Zelensky be like.
I am once again asking for your financial support. Now, the truth is, we have an excellent chance to win in Ukraine. I am once again asking for your financial support. Now, the truth is, we have an excellent chance to win in Ukraine and defeat Putin. But the only way we're going to do that is if we have sufficient financial resources to take on our well-funded opponents. I am once.
God, he be spitting fire, I swear. That is a really good one. Good job with the Reface app shit. That is banging. I love it. Let's see what the comment says. So less bones. Can't wait to get my Zelensky mittens on Etsy. I don't like all the Ukraine stands spell it with one I. Wait, what? With one Y? I forget if it's 2 or 3. I didn't even notice how you spelt it. Is there 2 Y's in Zelensky? Jesus Christ, I didn't even know. This person said, I'm pissing my pants. He said, isn't that nice? This is great. The comments on here. This masterpiece deserves over 9,000 retweets. This will flash in my mind the instant before I die. Scroll down to the Z beggar. Okay. Oh, there it is. Zelensky is a modern day Oliver Twist. Please, sir, I want some more. Oh God, that is great. Is there audio? No audio. Oh damn. Made with Reface. They're doing really, really good with this Reface stuff. And what's really funny and cool and ironic about this whole thing too is like they're using the Reface app to make fun of Zelensky, but the people of the Reface app organization is helping Zelensky with his green screen stuff. So great irony. I'm absolutely enjoying it. This is hilarious. Look at all the laugh reacts. This is great. I'm holy shit. Every Zelensky supporter is a Bernie bro, but everyone who's still a Bernie pro supports Zelensky. Because you knew they would, or you know why you voted for them, because you knew they would. General Motors. Just like COVID, this didn't happen to us. It's happening because of us. This person didn't like it at all. This person said on point. This person is speaking in Russia. I see what you did there. So simple yet so brilliant. So glad we're spending more money. They're fighting back against Nazi Wagner groups invading their home. Okay. Oh yeah, this is great. He just got a big mash of people. I mean, of course, when it comes to being really, big and getting your stuff out there, you're gonna have some haters, of course, too. So, yeah, isn't that's crazy? Ironically funny. I'm loving the irony. That's what I kind of want to like retweet it and say that. I just don't know how to say it in a very short, precise way. But yeah, we were just watching a video yesterday. If you look up Zelensky green screen on YouTube, there's a video. I think it's Vox or something. Somebody did a video of showing Zelensky in a green screen with cameras around because they want to show like how you could like use like what they do with Tupac and stuff. It's like they're not really there, but they're there. Through AI and stuff. They're doing that with Zelensky, so Zelensky could ask people for help and talk to people in their own areas without actually having to leave where he's at. So yeah, if you look at the people that were talking in there, one person that was helping him out in the green screen room, it said his name and then it said founder of Reface. So Reface is helping Zelensky out. So you gotta love the irony. This is great. I'm gonna definitely like this. This is great. Right, yeah, the Azov Sun patches right here too. That's so great. And then you got the INN patch down there too. Like here's who we're sponsored by. Here's who this guy's going for. I like it. I think this is awesome. What a cool thing to do. But Joe's always really good like that. I mean, he's got some really, really, really good stuff. I mean, this guy just goes off. So, oh yeah, Camp Dada. Look at that AOC and Mama Bear. That's what AOC is gonna look like in the future. He's just got some really fun stuff in here. Let's say hello to AOC's little friend. Look at they even put AOC's face on it. How fucking funny. Good on him for making this stuff. He is so genius when it comes to making these kind of things. So I absolutely love it. Good on him. Oh, it looks like he's not doing too much. Maybe some compilations. There he goes with his own Reface app. He's so funny with the Reface stuff. I think it was Marcus did my face on a Reface app as well. So there you go. Oh, that is great. Jesus Christ, this is hilarious. If you don't vote blue and vote matter, who? Fuck you, Democrats. Hey, that's cool. Rome is putting Rome is putting a library game room in Detroit. Hell yeah. Rome has been doing some really, really good stuff over the years. He's just getting cooler and cooler, and like just his passion of actually going out there and putting boots on the ground and helping people out and offering mutual aid is just something I definitely admire. So it's really cool of him. Creepy Joe strikes again. I bet. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. There he goes with the hand. Oh, he's touching it. Oh, he's touching it. Gross. I hate creepy Joe Biden so much. It's so disgusting. So there's the green screen video. See, this one is a hologram directive. They said this movie fucking sucks. So yeah, this is a clip of actually the video of what I was telling you guys about that's on YouTube that shows the co-founder of Reface app on here as well, helping them out. It's It's very interesting. And see like actors and, you know, famous people are being a part of it as well because, you know, it's not real. So, yeah. Hey, look. So this he did a lot of the videos that Shut the Fuck Up Lib 2 puts up on YouTube. I do the thumbnails for it. So that's cool. I get to see my thumbnails. Woo! How exciting. AOC was the chosen one. What? Peter Gabriel? Is that Jake and AOC? How funny. Some of the stuff he makes, man. There's Jimmy Dore. Oh god, this shit is great. This guy's page is just awesome. Here's one of the videos that I made the thumbnail for. So that was pretty interesting. Oh yeah, Peter. Yeah, go check out the YouTube video. We watched it yesterday. Here, let me Zelensky green screen on YouTube. And oh, it's the first one by Founders Forum. So here, I will put the link in the comments section so you can watch the whole thing. But no, I'm telling you, the whole video is just a bunch of crap, man. And then seeing the creator of Reface on there is absolutely wild too. So like this is the video. This is one of the people we were looking up, or one of the companies we were looking up, is the sunflower relief yesterday, because the sunflower relief literally was created in 2015, but it looks like they're only doing things to help out, supposedly helping out Ukraine, you know, mutual aid, healthcare, you know, things like that, you know, safe stuff, but they're actually over there giving holographic and video assistance to Zelensky, so that way he could get more money from the people. That was one of them. Here he is. See, told you. So his name is Dina Shevets. He's the CEO and co-founder of Reface. So there it is. Yeah, Z is this green screen hero. Exactly. Because like they put him in places where he's not actually at. Like there's video of him where like he had a green screen behind him and people actually noticed it. So, but yeah, there's the CEO and co-founder of Reface. So that's pretty funny that Joe is using the Reface app to go against Zelensky, while Reface itself is like helping him out. So use it against his own shit, you know. It's like beating him with, you know, fighting fire with fire. I think it's genius. It's a great job, Joe. You did really good on that. And keep doing it too, because this guy doesn't, you know, this guy deserves nothing more than that, especially if this is what he's doing. Like you're literally a professionalize yourself into fakely putting people in, or putting people in places that they aren't, putting them in faces that they aren't, having people do things that they aren't, and you're helping Zelensky ask for money. So yeah, the propaganda machine is really thick with this guy. Yeah, exactly. The art of war. It's exactly what's happening with this shit situation, and this guy's helping it. So yeah. Hi, Mama. You want to come up here and say, well, hello. Come here. You say hi? Do you want to say hi? You say hi, Mamas? Little Miss Izzy. Little Miss Izzy. She's so cute. She wants attention right now. She's starting to notice that it's almost time for me to get off. So yeah. I don't know what that word is. What does that mean in English? You're going to make me Google it? I will Google it. S. Und. Hey, look, it's already here in Google search. I was like, how do I spell the rest of this? So it's used to wish good health to a person who has just sneezed. Oh. Thank you. Like I say every day, I deserve my one blonde moment per day. And it seems more and more that my one blonde moment per day is starting to get onto YouTube more often than it's not. So thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. I know I cannot wait for this cold to be over. It's almost done. Soon enough. But okay, I'm gonna get off here because I will be back on here later tonight with Warren. So like I think it's 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight, so 12 a.m. Eastern. I will be on Extra Boya, Warren's channel. We're going to be going tonight for a couple of hours. I haven't figured out what we're talking about yet. I have no idea, so we'll figure it out. I'll talk to him later. So just get ready to check that out. It looks like Yoda is going to be going on live, so keep your eye out for him. If you see his little thing on YouTube that it's going to be coming up, just press the notify me button. That way it'll remind you, or they'll remind you that it's coming up and that it's going to be starting soon. Keep your eye open for the clips here today as well. So I'll be releasing the clips from the show today. So let me get in here to my creator dashboard, channel management, Ray channel and Twitch. Okay, nobody's on right now. All right, I guess I can't raid anyone because there's nobody on right now. But okay, so thank you everybody for checking us out. Like I said, check out Warren's stream tonight. Check out Yoda's a little bit earlier than that. Check out the clips that are going to be coming up today. We'll be releasing them throughout the day. And that's about it. I will see you guys all on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. I hope it's safe. I hope it's happy. I hope it's relaxing and enjoyable. I definitely will be relaxing myself this weekend. So enjoy, and I'll see you all on Monday. Bye.